Hello, and welcome back. It is Wednesday, which means it is the day of Reclamation, which sounds like something else, so I probably should not phrase it like that. I don't know, is there like a holiday that's or like a Reclamation holiday? I feel like I don't want to step on
I don't
any
think so.
toes. Okay. Either way, I'm probably over worrying. It happens. Yeah, great. So, yeah, like I said, Wednesday, Reclamation is back. Never left really, which is always great. I didn't do my homework this week, so I'm just going to go to the recap. Hey, Kay, what happened last time?
Hi. So yeah, we finished up doing stuff in camp. Roz heckled her brother. Lilith worked a bit with Callista to try and blank out her mind and keep the ghosts on one half of the body, I guess. I don't know.
Hmm.
They did brain stuff. It was fun.
Hmm.
Lilith also went to Titan to get components before Titan then went off to find out whether or not we could build houses. Why or why not could we build houses? To which the discussion was, we don't want any envy. We don't really need houses with the climate we're in. Nothing more than a tent, really. Like, there's no purpose. Not only is wood not exactly scarce, there just isn't any. It's not really the area for it.
Hmm.
So those were all reasons, and Titan went, yep, those are great reasons. And left it at that, and went to go train with Bandit to gain some more understanding about being a field medic, kind of brush up on his skills. I'm like, I didn't have anything for Corona yet on my notes, but I know that it happened. Where is it? Ah, yes, Corona was making boots, and almost succeeded. Missing
Very
one
close.
check.
Mm-hmm.
Very close. Roz went to go see yet another group of people. This one a little less terrifying than Tatiana and her tyrants. Went to go to the Immortal Bastion, where she met Lucilla. Lucilla?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who met Lucilla, who very much seems like the leader, to which there was some back and forth about how you should meet my brother, more or less, who we meet later at the, or at least we see later,
Mm-hmm.
at the mission briefing for the next set of missions. But that was at the end of the session. We were invited as a party via Roz to have dinner with them, to which Roz stammered a little bit. We were very proud of her, and accepted very graciously. Audie was training with Captain Silver to try and get her feet under her when it comes to doing martial things. So she feels a little less useless in a fight. And oh yes, before the briefing mission, Lilith learned how to scribe a scroll with Callista.
Mm-hmm.
To which then Callista, in her very lovely voice, said, "Oh, by the way, you can use your own blood too for ink." And we went, "Okay, we'll put that over there somewhere."
Put pin in it.
Yeah, we'll get back to that if we ever need it. Yes, to which we then went at noon to the mission briefing. There were markedly less than before. I think it's because some people were still out on a mission. Some people didn't have representatives, it seemed. But we did see the 7-foot armored Hulk that is Lucilla's brother. And it was a full suit of armor. Huge boy.
Mm-hmm.
And Jace was absent. Viren was present, looking a little grim, understandably so. It was a rough mission that he came back from. The other group that was represented was the League of Phantoms, where they advised about the prisoners of war. That was the mission that they took, basically saying that they got a list of some prisoners. We got to look over that. Audie's brother may or may not be on the list, depending on whether it's a scribing error or if it's just conveniently someone with a very similar name. And they have magical collars on. That will probably terminate them if they're tampered with. And that if there's any future missions, it really should be intelligence only, because they're probably waiting to do an ambush. It seems like bait. Yeah. And the gnome's name was Carl. Roz had a problem with that name. She said it was weird. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened that day.
I'm glad that got sprinkled in.
Yeah.
It's important to remember.
And Vanya
Carl
wasn't there.
No. Anyone have anything else to add?
Nope.
No? Okay. In which case, we'll begin. Shortly after the meeting finished, right around noon, we've all were together, received this sort of debriefing, to which you have an opportunity to make some decisions for yourself, and to perhaps plan what the next steps are for you all as a group. So most of the mercenaries have sort of, dispersed, gone back to their camps to, bring the news and the reports from the other mercenary missions that have been completed. You see that Covert is kind of returned back to standing near where his desk pavilion is, and he's currently fielding questions about the extra alternate mission that has apparently popped up, of which you've all been informed about out of character and had a very lengthy conversation about over the course of the last week. So now is your time. It's noon. Meeting took about 10 minutes, so it's 10 past. What do you all how do you want to start your day, or at least continue it?
Real quick before we do that, when do we ship out for the mission?
You technically all need to accept it and then decide when you want to go.
Got it.
Generally, upon accepting it, you can assume Covert at one point or another has more or less told you if you've accepted a mission, it is good to be prompt in attempting to complete it. So most people tend to leave within like 24 hours, given that sometimes a mission might require prep. There is no hard and fast rule.
I was going to say, and by observation, did it appear that Viren was joining up another group, or was he kind of sticking near us?
He didn't stick near you. He did go and speak to Covert briefly, and then wandered back towards where the rest of the Greenwood residents are.
Hey, Audie. You do me a favor, you go check in on Viren. He seemed a little broken up after we found Jace being carted in by Stretcher. He might want to be involved.
You're right, I can do that. Are we keeping the report for us? Or do you want me to take it out to Lotus? I'm going back that way.
Report's all yours. You do what you will with it.
Then Audie will take off as a bit of a runner.
Sure.
You did say he was heading back to camp, right?
That was the direction he was heading in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Audie won't necessarily chase him down. She's not really a full-out runner, but she'll get as close to him as fast as she can. A bit of a speed walk.
Yeah, fair. He's not like returning to the camp with any particular urgency. So Audie, if you're doing a quick step, you'll catch up to him, before long. He will turn and kind of regard you as you sidle up next to him. Melody, can I help you with something?
Going back to rest up? I just want to make sure you're alright.
Taking at least a day's rest before I consider taking any other missions, given the state. Jason and I returned and
And she gives a bit of a nod and
Well, the five of us, we're gonna be taking the second half of your mission. Who wants to wait for you? Are you feeling to sit this one out?
he scratches his chin briefly and considers. And then you see him sort of like flick out his right hand and flex his fingers a bit. And because he's doing this, you can see it after he contemplates for like 10 seconds or so, that there's a bit of a tremble to his fingers.
Mhm.
And he eventually forms it into a fist and then puts it back down. Thank you for the consideration, Melody, but I'll sit this one out. Gonna hang around and make sure Jace is on the mend well before I decide to go anywhere else.
Okay. I was gonna say, either in town or since the camp, does Viren have a partner? We know he's got his kids around.
He's a single father of 2 kids.
Okay.
His wife passed away a couple of years ago.
Back in Greenwood, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess I don't know if she'd have to step in front of him or like Audie would reach out and like grip the hand that was shaking and kind of stop him and hold it very earnestly so that she catches a look, like she can make eyes with him.
Mm-hmm.
And just goes, "That's smart. You take care of your sons. Rest up. We got this one. We'll come back. And besides, Jason needs a happy face."
And she kind of reaches up and like pats his cheek, like as if she could get him to smile, like or that half smirk, like stop it.
Fine. Roll a weird check for me. Sleight of hand charisma.
Oh boy. Where's my player sheet?
I think I'm going to refer to this as the tickle check.
Sleight of hand charisma. Okay, well I don't have I get an extra +1.
Yeah, your modifier is going to be a +5.
Yeah. It's not great. It's a 9.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can tell he's listening and he's receptive to what you're saying, but when you reach up and, try to use a physical reaction to conjure a smile, it doesn't work initially, but then you see he does provide you with a smile, although you're not entirely sure if it's caused by your reaction, genuine, or if he did it because he thought that's what you wanted.
Yeah. And she kind of gives a bit of a soft, sad smile back and a nod.
Right then, well, I gotta get this to Lotus then. Are you going back to camp now?
Just going to drop off some of my equipment, and then I was just going to go check on my sons at their jobs.
Right then. Well, probably see you in a couple days.
Yeah.
And she'll take off towards camp.
Be safe, Melody. And you take off.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to find Lotus to give her the report?
Yeah.
Or just any of the members of the council?
Probably any of the members, her mom, or I have the list, but yeah, basically any of the members that are closer to camp.
Well, out of the officially selected members of the Greenwood Council, you do run into Tyrion Drake first. The somewhat gruff, early 40s, dark-haired man who looks like he's lived quite a difficult and hard life, and people suspect he's come from a darker past that he never talks about, but he's reliable and helpful and considerate.
And Audie gives him a bright smile as if she knows none of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she obviously does, but just this big grin. What was his name? Tyrion?
Tyrion.
Tyrion.
Tyrion Drake. Here. Just.
Okay.
with a T, because apparently I missed it in the copy.
All right. And she grins and runs up.
My turn.
Melody, where are you off to in such a hurry?
And she holds out the report. Yes.
Got this report from our latest briefing. Sounds like there might be some prisoners of war. Might be that there's some names that are useful on it.
He takes it.
Maybe to council.
He takes it and he's already flipping through it as you're talking.
Mm-hmm. Thought it might be useful for the council.
All right. Yeah, I'll take this to the Wilders and Orin and Lotus and see what they have to say. And you can tell he's going to turn around and leave immediately, like he's received what he's supposed to do. He's going to go do it, and then he stops and he turns, and with the report folded open to the page with the list of names on it, he stops and he looks at you. Yeah, his expression's like not emotionless, but it is relatively reserved and flat. And he meets you with that very level, cold gaze and goes, "Do you know if this is your brother, Melody, on the list?"
And she shakes her head.
No. Strange name, though, so it could be. Could not be.
All right. I just didn't want to pass along anything that you'd already decided for yourself.
And she kind of gives a grin. He goes,
Yeah, but you know me, I want to hope it is. I'm sure my mom will say it's not, just to keep the hope on the other side.
Well, we can hope. And he just, again, just like before, he turns and with a mission walks me off into the deeper part of the Greenwood camp.
mm-hmm. Yep. And Audie will turn on her heel and start the dance, skip, fast walk back to where everybody else is.
Speaking of everybody else, you saw Melody run off with the report to deliver it. Leaves the rest of you in the center of camp near the mercenary meeting place that is dispersed. Is there anything in specific anyone's doing or any conversations you'd like to have?
I guess Corona would say, so I don't know about the rest of you, but are we fixing to head out immediately or what? Because I could do with a bit more prep time, but I could head out today.
Well, what you think then? Give it the night. Get at it in the morning so we've got all the daylight we need.
That works for me.
Works for me as well.
All right. Great. Just figured I'd ask because been working on stuff past couple of days, and I still need to pick up my weapon.
Probably best to wait until Lottie gets back. Make sure she's not planning on doing anything.
Oh, I sure hope not. Not on her own.
Well, I mean, around the camp. Like she didn't make plans or something. We've all kind of been busy.
So considerate.
All
That's
right.
all Corona would bring up.
We can stand and wait for Audie. How long could she take?
And we all turn, and everyone all turns with their hands on their hips, looking towards the refugee camp.
As Audie gets distracted by something shiny.
Roll the d4.
Butterfly.
Right?
4 hours later.
Yeah.
You have to say it with a French accent.
Adi, did you get distracted?
Oh, sorry. You actually said 1d4. I thought
Yeah.
you were messing with me.
No, I'm being serious. Roll a d4.
Well, let me get my d4 because it's stuck in the corner. There we go. A 2.
You do get distracted for 2 minutes. by a gentleman from another camp that is tuning a fiddle. And he uses you kind of as a reference point to be like, hey, is this in tune? Does this sound better? I'm going a little deaf in this right ear. And but you know, 2 minutes later.
She'll certainly help with that for sure.
Yeah, like I said, and then 2 minutes later, you could you'll arrive back to the group. To which, when you get there, everybody's sitting there staring expectantly at you.
So how did it go?
Vern's doing alright. Oh, I mean, about as good as you can expect. He's gonna stay here with his spice, though. Still a bit shaken up. I told him that Jay's gonna have to see a smiling face when he comes back around, you know. And yeah, he's gonna sit it out. And I gave the report to Heron Drake. Oh, and I helped somebody tune their fiddle on the way back.
All right. Well, anyway, good to know about everyone else. We decided amongst ourselves, as long as you're okay with it, that we give ourselves the evening and tomorrow morning head off on our mission.
That's a sensible thing.
All right then. Well, whatever everyone's got to do. Now's the time.
Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna head off then. I'll be around if you need me. Corona will be the first to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
disperse.
Shuffling off. Yep.
Yep.
Where's Corona headed off to?
Oh, well, I guess it would make sense to check on Vanya first.
You certainly could do that.
So let's yeah, because she was notably absent from the meeting, so who knows? There's a thought that comes across that's like, oh shit, did she spend like sleepless nights like working on this? I should probably, you know, pay a visit.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah, she's gonna go check
Okay.
wherever that may be.
Yep. You know she's barred a forge in the craftsman's area to the north.
Okay. Yeah, I guess once she's getting there, she'll keep a lookout, see if she spots her from a distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, you can head there. You can look around. Just make a perception check for me.
Sure.
See how quickly you spot her.
Not bad.
Oh, yeah. Quite good.
20.
Yeah. It doesn't take you long. You can kind of logic your way through like where you know she's going to be, because there's only a certain place where the blacksmiths have actually working forges.
Right.
And so when you head in that direction, it isn't before long that you hear Vanya first, even over the sounds of hammers striking metal. And then eventually you see her currently in a what looks like a somewhat heated conversation with two other smiths, a dwarf and an elf, just clearly having, you know, probably a craftsman's conversation of opinions.
Mm-hmm.
To which
Okay.
yeah, go on.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, fine.
I insist.
No, I was just going to sort of mention, like I say, it just continues to sort of it's like it's not escalating, but Vanya's getting more articulated.
Yeah.
As you're closing in.
It's getting more heated, more opinionated, but not necessarily like violent or anything. Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Yeah. Corona will approach. She's not going to inject herself into the conversation, but she's, you know, she's not hiding her presence or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right as you get within, you know, reasonable, you know, peripheral vision, that's where like Vanya's like literally mid raising up a smith's hammer, And when you get there, like your boots crunching in the gravel, it stops her. Well, if y'all excuse me, I have a friend, a client to consult with on the work I'm doing, so we can continue this conversation another time. And she sort of like stops and points the hammer at the elf, and then very, very gingerly sets it back down on the work table before walking towards you, wiping her hands on a rag tucked in her belt. Oh, good to see you, Corona. How are you doing today? Well, I
Not
hope.
doing too bad. Yeah. Just finished with the meeting. Saw that you weren't there, and thought maybe you were real busy. And
A little bit busy, yeah.
yeah,
I'm not doing anything, under the banner of a merc yet, so I figured I'd just, spend this first few days here, well, following up on your request and then tidying up on all my own gear until I feel at least comfortable enough to head back out into that shithole.
how's the camp treating you?
I mean, be honest with you, compared to where I came from, yeah, it's, sunshine and rainbows by comparison. I haven't really thought anyone was actually going to harm me since I've been here, which is a huge upgrade from anyone else you can meet when you're in the Badlands. So,
I bet. You're not having issues with anyone, are you? She just kind of like motions her head kind of jokingly over to the blacksmith she was talking with.
oh, nothing serious. Just a difference of opinions of people in the same trade is all.
Gotcha. Banter.
Yeah, especially those damn elves. They're so opinionated.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on that. But, well, sounds like you're having a good time otherwise. Um, well, yeah, I just came to check and see how things were going. We got the mission briefing,
Mm-hmm.
like you may or may not know. So
I do not. No, I was not there.
no, okay. Well, it usually happens at around this time. Everyone gets updated on what's been going on and what's available for doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And looks like our group's kind of made up their minds on something. So, before we headed out, just figured I'd check on how things are going. Not planning to head out today, because I still got things to do myself, and so does everyone else in my little group. So, we got time, but yeah. How's the little job going?
Well, it's coming along. I had to take a little time because I had to get a bunch of the materials from the, the pistols you gave me originally.
For sure.
So that took a little bit of time. And of course, there's a queue here because there's only so many forges and a lot of demand of them. So I've been working on the time that I've had. Which is to say, the project is going pretty well. But I am going to probably need at least another day of work. So, I mean, if you were leaving today, I couldn't promise anything. But if you're leaving tomorrow, you have a very high chance of it being ready to go with you.
Good, yeah. We're thinking tomorrow morning.
You see her nod. That should work out perfectly fine for me, unless I run into something catastrophic like the barrel cracks or something. Which would really just be a reflection of my smithing skills, which are excellent. So you probably don't have much to worry about.
Great. That's what I like to hear. All right. Well, then I'm going to get out of your hair. Let you keep on working, especially with these cues. I've been working over in the leather tanning section, so I know what you're talking about. It's probably worse here, though.
Yeah, a lot of armor and weapons need upkeep. New things being made all the time, especially with all the refugees coming in and needing equipment.
Yeah.
At least, these are the woes that they're parroting back to me, so.
That's what I'm hearing, too. I definitely see a lot more people, although it's kind of hard to tell because they just trickle on in.
Yeah, but the camp keeps growing from the rumors since like a week ago. People said like more than 200 people have shown up since then. That's a lot.
Yeah. But I mean, so far so good. I mean, we're really just as new as you are, to be honest. So, kind of seeing it grow at the same rate. That said, though, do you need anything from me before I get out of your hair?
I mean, in regards to the project that I'm working on for you, no, you gave me everything I needed for that. So
All right.
that's gonna come along and be finished. Again, ideally tomorrow, bright and early.
All right.
Otherwise, in terms of anything else, no, I'm good. Admittedly, do you happen to know a place where if I wanted to do some target practice where I could maybe set up and do that so I don't, scare anybody?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's plenty of places actually. Well, I mean, you could set out around the perimeter, but I mean, they got a actual firing range, and she'll tell her about where she was initially trained,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe they had at Whitecross because they had a small firing range there.
Yeah, they have a huge just training field.
Yeah. Okay. So she'll mention that and tell her that they take on just about anyone, but you know she looks trained. She is trained. They probably won't have any issues with just kind of letting her in as long as she follows safety and all that stuff. So
Yeah, all right, sounds good. When my time is allowed for it, that's probably where I'll end up heading.
I might have to do the same, honestly, depending on how much you change things up for me.
Well, let me just say, it's going to be a lot different from the piles of junk you gave me.
Good.
And yeah, for the better. Definitely for the better. Just upgrades all around. Their functionality is going to be a little different, a little more up close and personal than the thing you were using, but potency way higher. I'll explain it all to you when I deliver it to you tomorrow.
Yeah. Nah, that sounds good. All right. Well, take care then, Vanya. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
And with that, she'll give her like a little 2-finger salute and head on out.
Meanwhile, back in time, as Corona's deciding where she's going, Roz, Titan, Lilith, Adi.
Roz does not really feel she has time to go train with the tyrants because they will leave her with massive bruises. I'm trying to debate whether or not she wants to take up Lucilla's dinner offer, but I think she's intimidated by the prospect of meeting her brother. So I think that her whole plan is to go to the tavern, get a bottle of wine, drink it, and fall asleep.
Okay, that was not where I thought this was going, but okay. Sure, no problem.
Roscoe's day drinking.
Yeah, a weekend at the hunter's camp. There are no strength party characters here that you guys could totally just drag Roz around unconscious and puppet her. Which, honestly, I think I would pay to see. That'd be very funny. But another day, when you're not going to go, risk your lives, I'm sure. Yeah, you can absolutely go get a bottle of wine. How cheap of a bottle of wine are you shooting for?
Swill, just above definite hangover.
Gotcha. So, real easy. That's gonna run you a single silver piece.
Easily done.
Which honestly is still even expensive for that kind of swill, but demand.
It's still an entire bottle, which is probably 3 times as much as Roz actually needs to get drunk.
I mean, nowadays, maybe not. Because Roz is
No
going to
amount of
find out.
constitution will ever make this woman not a lightweight. She just
I
recovers
see.
faster.
It's just one of her quirks. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And just do me a favor, Sam. Just roll the d6.
You got it.
I'm steadily going to have every player work through the various bartenders they're going to meet at the Dusty Daisy.
1.
1. Well, this time, when you go in and you push your way through the small crowd that's there, and you go to acquire a bottle of wine. As always, there's a handful of bartenders in attendance behind the actual hardwood countertop, just dealing with the constant in and out of people needing things. This time, you are caught by a not very commonly seen humanoid in the form of a wildling, a humanoid with beast-like features and traits, a species that was thought to be long extinct and was apparently rediscovered, stuck in a multi-dimensional pocket between planes where they survived for a very long time in a very dark, twisted place. They have since roamed outwards from there to try to better understand this new world that they've been brought into. And apparently, one of these is a bartender here. She's about 6'6", pretty lithe, pointed ears, sharp-tipped nails, a couple of features, kind of canine adjacent. Very sharp teeth, and these wild brown eyes speckled with green. When you go over to get your wine, greets you with a big toothy smile. Leans down a little bit lower on the countertop because it's sort of made to accommodate most races, with her being on the upper height end. Welcome to the Dusty Daisy. I've seen you around a few times. What can I get for you today?
Afternoon, Mum. I was hoping to just get a bottle of wine. Something cheap, just above vinegar in quality, if you could.
You see her nose wrinkle. I will never understand why you want to drink that, but all right, I'm not going to stop you. And very easily just reaches down below somewhere deep, and then comes back up with a dusty green glass bottle. All right, well, single silver piece for you then.
Drop my silver on the counter, take the bottle. Oh, that looks like it's going to hurt. Perfect.
Well, it is my obligation to say drink responsibly.
And it might be your obligation, just like it's my responsibility to let you know. I absolutely will, thank you.
Well, not that I think it's possible, but enjoy. We'll see you again.
I won't. Thank you for your time. I'm gonna go head out.
Okay. All right, you've got your bottle of wine, and you're gonna go day drinking.
I'm gonna go day drinking. I'm gonna pass out way too early.
Yeah. Where are you day drinking? Just for everyone's general know-how.
The safest, most comforting place possible, which would be in the Greenwood camp.
Gotcha. I really thought you were like, in the safest, most comfortable place possible, Lilith's tent. We were
never
all
say
thinking
never. She's
it.
gonna be very drunk.
Yeah. So it might start
safe
in
for Roz.
Roz's. Good news is, there are several mothers there that will take care of Roz in case she ends up ugly drunk sleeping on the ground somewhere in the camp.
Always a possibility.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well that's Roz. That's an easy rest of the day solution. Lilith, Audie, Titan.
Titan, while jealous of Roz's day drinking, has things to do. He's gonna go wait in the queue for a forge.
Mm-hmm.
And while he's waiting for a forge, he's gonna read his new book. He's
Yeah,
very
fair.
excited to be studying.
Roll me a d4.
This Titan's gonna get started on plate mail for Roz.
Oh. Yeah, roll me a d4.
D4. 3.
3, okay. You do wait for a little bit. 3 hours approximately. Because it is clear that they have a limited amount of forges that have been built here to be sufficient for the needs of the various craftsmen here. But clearly, the amount of people that they've taken in has been more than they prepared for. And so thus, these somewhat, painful queues to wait for forges. The good news is, since the demand is so high and people that are really insistent on using them have to wait, the costs for them are very, very cheap. And that it runs basically a silver an hour that you need it, which is very manageable.
That's very reasonable, yep.
So that being said, it's 3 p.m. when you get there. Basically, you hustle on over, you wait 3 hours. It's about 3 p.m. when you can get to work. So,
Okay.
what are our plate mail checks?
Smithing tools.
Mm-hmm. I'm scrolling.
And I need to make 14 of them, I think. Let me double check.
Plate mail, 56 hours.
56
Yeah,
hours.
28 checks halved is 16. Yeah, because inventors are cool. Yeah, DC 17.
Like that, he's just getting started. He knows it's
Yeah, of
going to take
course.
a few days to complete a
Yeah.
dedicated effort. But I'll do what we can today.
Are you intending to have any kind of crafting modifier?
What do you mean?
Much in the way Audie's Elven scale mail was produced. Were you just making basic plate mail, or were you aiming to do something else?
For the moment, it's just basic plate mail.
Okay.
I think Titan's more concerned with getting that done, and then he knows he can make modifications later.
Fair.
But for now, it's just making the base.
Okay. Yeah, in which case, 16 checks. The question is, because 2-hour increments are the things that matter most here, to what time is Titan going to work?
I'll say about 3 when we got there. We'll work till 9.
9? Okay, so you have 3 checks you can do then.
Okay.
So blacksmithing tools, DC 17.
Okay.
And it is proficiency plus strength modifier, of which equals a very high modifier for you.
Yeah, hold on. 25 on the first check.
Yep, huge.
That's better. Using some inspiration, because we don't do nat ones here. That's not right. 27 on the second check.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, much less on the third.
Well, the other two have been overkill so far.
I think I get it a 16.
One short.
One short.
It's a 17 that needs to be beat.
17. Okay.
In which case, you have 2 successful checks. Out of what was the half number we decided on? 14? 14. Because it's half the amount of time.
Yes.
So it's 14 checks. So you have 2 out of 14 successes that you've done.
That's fine.
Would you like me to keep track of the plate mail progress, or would you?
I mean, it's easier for me if you keep track of it, but I can if it's too much for you.
I mean, I'm just probably gonna make a note of it on your character sheet.
I was gonna do the same thing. I'll do it.
Okay. Okay.
14. Or
So, other than Titan being heavily immersed in blacksmithing plate mail, is there anything you're going to do at the end of the very end of the day, or do you want to see what everyone else is doing first?
Nope, Titan is gonna do his. Well, actually, it's late enough that I don't think he's gonna find any kids. But if there's a Greenwood, actually, no, he'll just go with his wife. We'll go have dinner with his wife.
Yeah, fair.
And then maybe they'll go for a bike ride.
Yep. Okay. Whittling it down. Audie, Lilith.
Audie.
All right, Audie will go next. It always takes me longer to unmute, so I'm like, by the time I unmute, someone's going to start talking. Yeah, so Audie's plan would be to check back into White Cross Company, because she's really interested, now that she's had some physical training in the morning, she's looking to do some magical training in the afternoon.
Oh.
Whether that's learning meditation or anything that won't exhaust her too much for the following day, but kind of get her feet under her.
Do you ask for anyone in specific, or do you just go, I'm here to train my magic?
Yeah, she'll kind of, and she goes to the front. She'll come up and be like, when I was here a couple days ago, a bandit said they had magic, and I just wanted to understand it a bit better. So she doesn't ask for Bandit specifically, but she does mention that he was the one that like discovered it in her or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So.
The sentry, the two sentries that are there, the one you're speaking to, will just give you a nod and affirmative to acknowledge what you've said, and you can see that there are gears turning in their head, to which the other sentry just kind of like, does the hey. And you see the other sentry look at him and goes, Bandit's in camp today. You could just send her that way and Bandit can send her elsewhere. You see the guy nod. Right, that works. Yeah, ma'am, if you just head straight back from here to the central tent, you can find the Red Commander just on the inside there. Speak to him. Yeah, he'll find you somebody.
And she'll give a very, very polite curtsy and head on in.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, and from the entrance to where this command tent is not very far. It's like 30 feet. Mm-hmm. You go there, the tent flap is pulled aside. And inside is just Bandit. He's hunched over a large, heavy wooden table with a map on it and a bunch of little figurines placed on it. Of which, out of the figurines, you can identify there were a couple of different colors, including red, blue, green, and very specifically white figurines with a black cross on top. They're outlined in white for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell he's just sort of sitting there contemplating. There's a small notebook nearby that he's got a hand resting on with a stick of charcoal, and that he's occasionally jotting down a note, as if he's either working something through his head and he's just making remarks to himself to refer to it later, or he's being like beamed information and is making considerations and writing stuff down. Hard to really tell what's going on with him. Mm-hmm. But as you kind of get to the entrance of the tent, his motions are very slow and deliberate, to which you'll see like the hand relax, and he'll look up from where he was working to you as you take the first step right there at the entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Audie, it's good to see you. How can I be of assistance today?
And Audie, when she kind of gets distracted by the table a bit, and she's looking at it. Is that an old battle, or is it something new?
No, this is current information about things that I've divined about the movements of allies and enemies and our own forces elsewhere.
And satisfied with that answer, she then, looks up from the table at Bandit as well. I trained a bit, martial training this morning with Captain Silver. I thought it might be good to get a feel for the magic you say I have. And the front said that you would know who would be best to train me.
Well, I suppose the most important thing to consider is, for a teacher for you, is what kind of magic that you have. But I know you've recently come into it yourself. Since then, have you had a chance to use something you would consider to be magic? Something that's unexplainable that you produced by wanting it to be?
And she looks kind of back and forth. No. A little bit. I've been able to talk to people at a distance. I think I insulted someone and I look really hurt by it, but I might have just insulted them. I mean, when I was a child, I told people to go away and they couldn't stop but go away. But nothing deliberate, nothing. Again, I insulted someone and I've been able to talk to people from a long ways away. That's really it.
That's something. Well, based off of the fact I was there when I knew you came into this, I know that you are no wizard. Which means your magic is well, then you definitely also know you're no wizard. But your magic is likely something innate. Do you have a focus of some kind? Your brother would have had one. A gem, a crystal, a wand, or a staff, something like that.
And she kind of looks at him, mouth a bit agape, with that kind of eyes glazed over look of, I really wish I knew what you were talking about, and just shakes her head a little bit.
He continues to nod. All right, that helps tell us something. In which case, you have two choices, young lady. One, I can help instruct you in the earlier stages of using your magic, or I could send you to one of my sergeants, who has a similar set of skills and gifts such as yourself.
Well, I suppose the best teacher is the one that is kind of a like for like. Your instructing earlier was quite helpful, but if you don't think that it's the same type of magic, then I best be going to the other.
Well, my magic is that of a divine nature, of which ours are different.
Well, I certainly don't have that. The only god that we had growing up was Viren, and well, they're not really around anymore. And the butterfly to fates, but that's not so much a worship as it is a past interest.
Well, for what it's worth, them being around or not wouldn't stop you from using that if that had been your goal. Certainly doesn't stop me at all. But
who's yours then?
I worship the old god of death.
Not knew it. Doesn't switch over like that.
Faith doesn't always change with the faces that represent what is current and what is old. we can have this philosophical conversation another day when you don't have intentions to learn how to control magic, which is an extremely important thing for you to do.
Of course. Apologies. It's a passing interest of mine.
No, of course. And as I said, you're more than welcome to come back and we can discuss it then. But on a time when you didn't have a goal. That being said, if you'd be so kind as to follow me, I'll take you to your instructor for now.
Yeah, and she'll follow him out.
And he walks at, again, a very slow, deliberate pace. And he takes you not towards the training fields, but into the orderly rows of tents of what you would call, given the size, the residential side of the White Cross Company camp. And he takes you down a couple of rows, hangs right, goes down like 6 or 7 tents. And he stops in front of one. And they're all like very neatly organized. There is no identifying markers on the outside of them. And you see him stop and kind of very purposely reaches forward and just kind of wraps one of his, blue knuckles on the tent pole that divides the entrance. Doesn't say anything. Just after a moment, you see the flap kind of billow open, and an elf sticks their head out. Pale skin, short, cropped, wild white hair. Like it's close cropped to the sides, but the top is quite longer. If it were like combed, it might be like shoulder length, but it just is everywhere. Kind of like what you look like with a case of bedhead. They stick their head out. They have wildly vivid sky blue eyes. And they go, right, Commander, what do I owe the pleasure of the visit? And their eyes snap over to you. And a guest. I was not prepared. I thought I had rest today. Hang on, give me a moment. And the tent flap kind of billows back. And you see Bandit just doesn't say anything, just waits. And then about...
Audio kind of... Oh, sorry. I was going to say, Audio lean over and whisper in that gap. And just
Am I imposing? Can I do this another time?
Don't worry about it any. It'll be all right. And like 5-10 seconds after that, the flap billows back open. And the elf steps out in White Cross Company regalia, except as opposed to the standard tabard that a lot of the other ones, a lot of the other members wear. This person is wearing a set of multi-layered robes that are done up in the white, grays, and silvers of White Cross Company, with the emblem on the back of the shoulder coat that they wear. They come out and you see them sort of step up and stretch, and they're not quite as tall as Bandit, but tall and slender for an elf. Sergeant Sky greets Right Commander Bandit. How can I be of service? Sky, if you would be so kind. Our young Miss Melody here is newly awakened to her magic abilities and doesn't quite understand them yet. If you could help teach her the basics, so that way she could start learning on her own, that would be of great help to me. And he looks over at you, Melody, now with an appraising gaze, but then hesitates for only a few seconds. Well, it would be my honor to instruct a fledgling in learning how to control their magic. Melody, was it?
Sir, that's right.
It is nice to meet you. You can just call me Sky. And they give you a 1/3 bow, hands at the side, a very elven greeting. Don't worry, Right Commander. You can leave her under my care and tutelage. And you know she'll be cared for. And you see Bandit just, again, he nods, slow, deliberate, and then he turns and he looks at you, Melody. Are you all right if I depart now?
Yes, thank you, Bandit.
Very
Sorry to
good.
have disturbed you.
It's all right, Melody. It's all for a better tomorrow, huh?
And she just kind of beams and gives a very, like, a deliberate nod, a very affirming nod.
Mm. And he turns and slowly departs. Sky stands there kind of, rigid, at attention for a moment until Bandit's about 20 or 30 or so feet away. And then you see that sort of rigidity kind of fade away, but still carries himself proper. Melody, was it?
It is.
Very
My
good.
friends call me Audie, but Melody is the proper name.
What would you prefer I call you?
And she kind of lifts her hands, one side or the other.
I honestly go by both. Whichever's easiest for you.
Melody was the first one I heard, and is the one I will stick to. Is your name, purposeful? Do you happen to sing?
And she kind of, like, smirks and blushes a little.
Yes, but I got the name before I could do that.
Well, as I suspect, given I don't suspect you were singing from your mother's belly. Although I've heard crazier stories. Okay, good. Do you have a place in this, in or around the camp that you are most comfortable in?
And she kind of thinks about it for a little bit.
Well, I've been down by the river, but a lot of people bathe there. Seem kind of strange to practice there.
Have you been across the river yet?
No, I didn't know how safe the various wilds are.
Safe enough. And besides, you'll be with me, so it'll be fine. All right. I know where we're going to go, so follow me now. And while we go there, tell me a bit about yourself and how you've been feeling since you've come here. And perhaps if you have anything that you're willing to divulge, such as any time you think you've used magic in the past, not even just recently. That can help us better understand a bit about you and your abilities, so that way I can teach you how to use them to the best of your ability. I'm good with that?
Certainly.
Very good.
Glad to tell you anything you want to hear.
Well.
And Audie will, like, regale him with her life story initially, if
Mm-hmm.
if he lets it. Keeping it on point to the best of her ability.
Mm-hmm.
Telling him about when she had her incident, when she kind of lost her voice as a kid, and how it was kind of scary for her. And
everything.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, she thinks it's, as Roz has been telling her since she was like 9. This is all important. This is part of your magic, so it seems important.
Sure.
She might not. I don't know if she'll go into like her dreams and sleeping, but she'll definitely. She'd probably say, she'd be like, yeah, and I used to sing, at the tavern at home. I don't think she would go in and tell him like about the mask. That might come up during training.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's ever like, yeah, it's like I talked to this singer from Greenwood, and people would be like, which one? We don't have a singer from like.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In which case, Audie and Sergeant Sky are going to head to a location somewhere beyond the river. But before we continue on with you, we're going to go to Lilith, the last member of the party, not to do anything yet.
Last member of the DK crew.
Don't try to tangent with a catchy song.
Lilith doesn't have anything entirely pressing that she planned on doing at the moment, so she's going to wander around the mercenary side of the camp for a bit, casually glancing at some of the people training and slowly kind of directionlessly making her way towards where the League of Phantoms are set up, just to kind of see what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, so you meander, not really having anything dedicated to your time. Eventually, you end up outside the League of Phantoms camp, of which you didn't know what to expect, or maybe you did, but when you arrive there, it is one of those smaller camps out of the mercenary groups on this side. There are essentially 5 tents, 2 smaller ones and 1 larger one, where you suspect meetings are held. And there's not a single soul in the camp.
That she can see.
Not a single soul in the camp.
My god, they're all undead.
That does have a different meaning now, but we'll get into that when that comes up later.
She'll kind of stand there on the edge of the camp, looking around, expecting to see someone or anyone walk out of one of the tents at some point. Maybe give it like 10 minutes before she realizes that this is kind of on brand for what the little she does know about them.
Mm-hmm.
But
roll me a percentile die.
oh boy. 70.
70?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, 10 minutes go by. You're kind of just, kicking dirt, waiting. Don't see anything. And as you're kind of going, well, maybe I should go somewhere else, and you turn your attention to maybe regard, where to go next. You turn there, and suddenly you see a face you've seen before. It is the chocolate brown haired, very plain, but nicely smiling Carl. Hey there. What can I do for you, miss?
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there.
I get that a lot.
Mostly just looking around, seeing what all the other mercenaries are up to. I'm new to this.
Hmm.
Not
Well, okay.
a whole lot going on here, is there?
Not that you can see.
Right, I'll be forthright. I was thinking that maybe my skills might align with some of the skills here, and that maybe I could learn a thing or two.
You want to learn a thing or two from a bunch of assassins?
If it'll help me in my goals. I'm not looking to become an assassin, but I'm pretty sneaky and I need to be able to kill things.
Well, it's not for me to pass any judgment on assumptions you're making about assassins, but I can introduce you to somebody.
Sure. If they're not busy. Like, I don't want to intrude too much.
No, it's fine. I could totally let you meet the boss.
Oh. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Turn around.
She's going to eye him for a moment. She wants to insight him.
Go ahead, insight check him.
That'd be pretty good for Lilith, 13.
You can't really tell if he's messing with you or not. It's right on the borderline.
Squints. She will glance over her shoulder.
There's nothing behind you. But you hear Carl begin laughing.
Damn it, I knew it.
Sorry. I do that to all the newbies that come wanting to talk to us.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a bit of hazing.
Well, because rule number 1 here is that you can't take your work too seriously. If you do, you'll get tired of it real quick. You know?
I suppose that makes sense.
Anyway, coming
She'll
in.
follow.
Yeah. Do you want a kebab?
No.
He's been holding 3 skewers of some sort of roasted meat.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, suit yourself. You must be one of those rich mercenaries who can afford food.
No, I just don't eat a lot, really.
That can't be healthy.
Well, I eat enough, just... She just kind of glances away.
Yeah, like I said, it's a short distance. He takes you to the big tent. And he pulls the flap aside. Lilith, you immediately notice when that flap is pulled aside, you cannot see into the tent. It is a wall of black mist. If we just step inside, the boss will be along.
She'll steady herself for a moment, kind of expecting that this might be something similar to what they have in the brothel, and step forward.
Okay. And you step through. It's a little cool, kind of like walking through like a high humidity cold day. You step in, but when your eyes focus, you are just inside what you would expect, the interior of the same size tent that you were in before. It's kind of arranged very neatly and orderly. You can tell there's a wood signboard off to the side that is currently completely empty. There's a singular table in the middle that has 4 chairs around it. A cabinet off to the side with a few shelves with doors on them. Just a few cabinets. I said that all there was closed, of which you can tell they're also likewise locked. And it is quiet, but surprisingly cooler in here than it is outside.
Did Carl come in with her, or
Carl did not.
she'll glance around and cautiously take a couple steps forward?
Mm-hmm. Nothing happens.
Hello?
Make a perception check.
14.
Don't notice anything. The tent seems very empty. There aren't any dark corners for someone to hide in. You can even glance under the table, nothing there. Although it's sort of, when you look at enough of that, you do come to one specific conclusion, because you're so used to the existence of this constant that you didn't realize it was there until just now, to which now you can't unsee, which is none of the objects in this room cast any shadows. Along with the fact that there is also no obvious light source either. Everything is just kind of like this washed out, low light vision, like what you'd expect to be looking out across, a vast expanse in the middle of the night with limited moonlight. It's, now that you've seen it, a little off-putting.
She'll kind of glance around her immediate area. Is she casting a shadow?
You are not.
All right, a little spooky. She'll take a few more steps forward. Just kind of getting to the center.
Yeah, and where the
doing
table is.
360.
But you walk forward a little, and then you cast your glance around, and when you return your vision back to the table, one of the chairs is filled.
She does her best not to jump. She jumps a little bit.
Sitting in the chair appears to be a Doreen. again, sharp angular features. Their colors range from browns, blacks, and greens. They are wearing a heavy mantled black gray cloak, which has a there's a word for it and I'm forgetting it, like a very high wound collar that basically hides everything from the nose down. The rest of their equipment is similarly colored, and you realize when you sort of look at it, it lightly adjusts and adapts to the parts of their skin that is showing. So, Carl said you wanted to talk.
Yes, I'm interested in learning from the League of Phantoms a bit.
You'll understand why I have to inquire as to why one such as yourself, from a family such as yours, would require our teachings.
Well, for myself personally, the teachings didn't really start to click in until recently. And I want to make sure that I'm broadening myself to the point where I can not be a liability when I go on these missions.
Persuasion check, please.
Pardon?
Persuasion check.
Persuasion. It gives a inspiration. Well, it's better. 10 total.
Okay. The figure is unreadable. They just sit there with their arms crossed, clearly just observing you, taking you in, taking their measure of you. And why did you come here? I'm sure White Cross would have somebody with talents that you're looking for. Why walk into a den of assassins?
Well, I'm sure they'd be able to teach me a few things. This is your area of expertise.
Are you intending on using the skills that you could learn here to kill others?
Only if I have to. To help put a stop to this war.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think you have the stomach to learn our craft.
Just quiet for a bit. Is there a reason why?
You come from a warrior family. One that carries with it a certain reputation. Not only are you the black sheep, you even admitted that you didn't pick up any of the training that was taught to you. What you could learn here, it would not reflect well on your lineage.
if there comes a time where I find that I don't care too much about that, would I be able to come back and learn?
If there comes a time, and if you can bring sufficient evidence that you have what it takes to be an assassin, consider this your test.
I understand. Thank you for your time. She will give a small bow and turn to leave.
When you're finished with the bow, the figure is gone. And you leave.
She'll head straight out of the camp.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's just going to spend the rest of her day kind of wandering, watching other people train. Notably, avoiding anywhere near Tatiana's tyrants.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you do have to cross their path in order to like go to and fro from the League camp. But you can speed walk past.
Yeah. Totally not obviously avoiding them.
Yeah, totally not. Just maybe an insight check. Yeah, just for when you're passing by the camp.
Lilith, you're great at these 5.
Mm-hmm. You swear somebody's watching you whenever you pass by the camp.
She doesn't doubt it. She keeps walking.
Okay. Is the rest of the day just busy work for Lilith?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, quickly, back to Corona, who has spoken to Vanya and then has the remainder of the day. I'm assuming you're going to want to finish the boots.
Yes, sir.
Well, you got one more check left to make, if I recall correctly.
Yes, that is correct. Okay, so that was leather workers at this point with dexterity?
It's cobbler's
Or
tools.
cobblers, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking
Plus,
of the process backwards.
Yeah, plus dexterity.
Okay.
Were you just making basic boots? Or we switched to nice
no,
boots,
they were the
right?
nice ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we realized that there was no barrier to entry other than skill. Yeah. Oh, it also takes 3 checks. Okay, so the DC is a 16.
Okay. Dexterity, yes. Let's see. I'll hero point that.
Okay.
Okay. One last time. Dex. Come on, yeah, there we go.
There you go. Okay.
21.
Yeah. Takes you a little longer than you'd like, but a couple hours later, you managed to finish a nice pair of boots.
Excellent.
So much so that you look at them and you go, nice.
I should make a pair for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think once she's got that sorted out, she'll be taking it easy for the rest of the day. She's gonna stow them away, kind of empty her backpack in preparation for tomorrow, so she doesn't have to bring in a whole bunch of stuff that she doesn't need, and she's just gonna take it easy. If there is anyone in the nearby vicinity that needs help with anything, she'll be there. But she considers that job well done. So
Okay.
she'll just she's not literally just gonna sit down and do nothing, but she'll just wander around, make sure nothing needs doing. That's her idea of taking it easy.
Rest of the day, sure.
Yep.
Not a problem. So boots done. We are at 7:30, so we're gonna take a break, and we come back. We're gonna tidy up the rest of the people's individual day, which I really just think is Audie at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
And then we can scoot boot to the next day and get you all ready to head out on your mission and maybe start it if we're so lucky. But we'll be right back in 10 minutes. See you then. And we're back. Yep. With music and all. Great. So we wasted no time. Titan's working on plate mail. Lilith is lollygagging and trying not to draw attention to herself. Roz is somewhere with a bottle. Maybe in Lilith's tent, we don't know. Corona was working on a pair of boots and is now kind of in the same state that Lilith is, except slightly more helpful. At least attempting to be.
Tempting to be, yeah.
No judgment. Audie, the last member of the group, was having a nice little stroll and telling her life story to a one Sergeant Sky of the White Cross Company, a laird elf with messy white hair, but very finely crafted robes. You end up at the river. There's, wide, gently flowing river that is often used by many in the camp for, honestly, many, many reasons, because fresh water is a valuable resource. When you get there, though, given that Sky has previously mentioned that the goal was to head across the river, you get there to the edge of the water as it's slowly moving. The river, again, it's sizable. It's a couple 100 feet across. And Sky just sits there for a moment and looks across the river, and sort of points to a spot where you can see the bank rises up, and then there's a hill that kind of overlooks everything on the other side of the river. All right, Melody. First hypothetical. If you wanted to get over across the river and stand at the top of that hill, how would you accomplish it?
I'm gonna guess you're meaning magically or mundane.
However is within your ability. If I told you to go meet me on that hill, how would you have gotten there?
And she'll kind of look up the river and down the river, and it's not moving so fast. Like, it's not rapids.
A reliable swimmer could cross it, no problem.
And she's gonna look up and down the river and point further upstream and go, I'd start over there so I could swim across and not miss the exit point. And she points much further down the other way, somewhere around over there, and then walk up.
And
presumably there's no bridge around here, actually.
Not around these parts, no. And that is how most normal people would probably cross this river. For people that can use magic, we tend to have a method to conjure effects. Sometimes these are formula in the case of wizards. Other times it is manipulating the energies and the elements that are already present and all around us, in the case of natural magics. Others, it is through instantaneously generating something from thin air. Not really thin air, but from the innate magic and energy that exists in everything. Divine. And there are a couple of nuances to everything. Such as myself, which I have an innate arcane magic in me that has a very specific elemental type. The point of my rambling is that every spellcaster that would want to get to that hill across the river would probably have a very unique way in doing so that would be different from the ways all the other people would cross in the manner you've already suggested. Such as, if you wouldn't mind, and he puts out a hand.
And she'll place hers in his.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now just walk in step with me. And he'll take a couple of test steps so that way you're both kind of moving back and forth at the same rhythm. And then once you've found it, he will take the first step out into the water. Does Audie hesitate?
Not at all. She just talked to Bodden and has asked for stories about magic. So if a magic user says this is what we're doing, it's what we're doing.
Okay.
And she's willing to look the fool if he's just pulling her leg.
Mm-hmm. No, when you walk in step with him, each footfall has a small, little localized gust of wind that pushes up under your feet, and it feels sort of springy. Like you step and you sink a little, and then you rise back up, and it helps you with pace. And before long, you're on the other side of the river. That is how I crossed the river. And the way I did this was, as you could tell, not through any sort of spell or any kind of formula. I did manipulate what is here. However, it was through force of will. These sorts of magics are usually called innate by scholars. Things that are properties in which are part of a person and can be created through their desire. And that can manifest in different ways, and sometimes it is unreliable, such as someone falling off a cliff and wishing to not hit the bottom and perish might find themselves suddenly held aloft and float down gently. True story, by the way. However, that is more of a reaction. It's an instinct for survival, which is usually how magic is brought about in a lot of people that have innate magic. However, you can start to fine-tune it. You just kind of have to understand what your magic is. And you're walking, and you end up at the top of the hill eventually.
Mm-hmm.
From what you've told me, Melody, you have an innate type of magic that has something to do with your voice. Perhaps there is power in words, and it is not just the sound your body makes when speaking. It could be, in fact, brought about by words in specific, or your words are giving shape to the power that you have, and it could be related to neither of them. But the point is, you have to find what you believe it to be. You have to figure out what the feeling is when you use magic. So we're going to sit, and we're going to go through some of your memories, the instances in which you've had these experiences with your voice. And we're going to try to have you recall those emotions, what you were feeling at the time. And then we're going to talk about those. And then we're going to talk about how we can move magic away from being reflexive and emotional to something that can be better refined. But don't get me wrong, this is definitely going to be mostly hypothetical. No one masters magic in a single day. I'm still learning, and I'm a pretty good spellcaster. I would say so. Bandit brought you to me. I think that's credit enough. So we'll work on it, and we'll figure out what it is you can do, and I can help teach you some basic spells that I think will fit for how we develop your abilities, whatever that might be. I realize I've been rambling a lot. Anything you want to ask or say?
How confident are you in your willpower? How strong a mind do you think you are?
He considers, kind of looks out, across the river onto the camp. By now, very confident. Because, for better or worse, I'm with a group of people that I care for and I want to keep safe. And if my magic ceases to work because I was having doubts, or I was afraid, or if something was able to distract me from that tether that I've connected to it, and I failed to do something that I needed, and someone got hurt because of it, no, that's just not an acceptable outcome for me. So, that's kind of my my anchor for that.
And she'll look around from the top of the hill.
And we'll see if anybody's gonna be coming up here. Ain't nobody gonna hear us, not just us.
We're pretty far away from everybody else. No one's crossed the river, and honestly, even though it's gentle, I don't think they're going to be able to hear us over it.
And Audie will kind of stop and take a few breaths and look around. All right, then. Let's have a conversation. And she'll go into her story.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I was 9. I would always play with the children, and they were I thought they were gonna kill me. I really did. And they looked at me like I had 2 heads. Looked at me like I just told them to hurt themselves. I just wanted them to go away.
Given your type of magic, given emotion, and the way it can seep into intent, and the way that your power shapes effects, it could have been very different from what you said. And that is the important thing we need to work on. Intent and shaping it. And if we can get at least those 2 basics down, I think you'll start finding that using magic will be a lot easier. And Sky will run you through, innate magic 101. And give you a lot of basic principles and teachings. How to, to will an effect into existence based off of your desires and your resolve. And then once you've kind of got like the principles, understood well enough, you'll do a little bit of practice by the end of the day, trying to get some effects to work. How well do you think Audie takes to the teachings? Do you think Audie's going to need like multiple lessons? You want to make some checks to determine it?
I was gonna say I wouldn't mind making some checks about it, because I think she has all the will and desire, but she also has a lot of fear around it. So despite how much she wants it, she might still get blocked a little, or she just trusts him. Something about, the way he's been speaking to her and the way Bandit trusted him,
Mm-hmm.
Could just fall into place.
Just roll a charisma check. Plain old charisma check, so a +4.
That's a 22.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah. You know what? You're right. There is something. You're not sure if it's Sky specifically, or the sort of implicit trust that Bandit had put into him and the connection that you've made with Bandit since then. But Melody's smart, so the principles and the logic behind what he's explaining makes sense, especially after speaking to your brother, who's kind of crossed a few lines in terms of arcane and magic. Towards the end of the day, and there are a couple of things that he has you attempt. Some very simple, basic magical things that you can just conjure, aka cantrip practice.
Mm-hmm.
Such as creating a certain smell, which he has you use your memories of things, specific things you like that you would want to recall that you probably can't anymore. Has you practice things from prestidigitation, has you practice message to a point that, ideally, and you do, given the 22 on the check, that you both have a conversation where neither of you are speaking with your voices anymore, but are doing so through magic.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably when it's getting closer to sundown, is when kind of like a last minute Sky presses on the fact that it'd be very convenient to have a light source to go back to camp with. To which he sees if he can't press that very mundane desire to have a light source to walk back to camp with into shaping in the magic. And again, with your 22, Adi is very easily able to create a magical light to walk back to camp with. And it's a successful outing. Again, Adi's confidence level is ultimately up to you, but Adi would have found some success in the basics of just a single day of instruction for magic.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be rounded out with the understanding that there'd be magic gets more complex, especially the more you develop as a magic user. And certain things you'll have limitations, so he will explain more or less, he will do the in-character explanation for the meta reasoning behind spell slots and expenditures of things of that nature. So first circle spells, that every mage can only do so many spells in a given day based off of powerful effects. And we'll explain that what those spells are for you, especially given that you are a more innate magic user, will develop based off of your needs and wants, which he goes back to explain. He gives you his small origin story of how he found out he had his innate wind magic, which was when he was pushed off a cliff by a bully, and he did not want to hit the bottom, and he was suddenly held aloft. And he explains the Featherfall spell. And just that these sorts of spells come about through necessity sometimes, and other times you can create and affect a spell by focusing on it, creating a need for it, and then making it be. But Sky delivers you safely back to the Greenwood camp by sundown.
Once they get kind of on the other side of the river and are about to part ways, she'll return to her whispering a bit and just like,
should I need more training? And I think I do. I did very well today, but I don't think I'm quite there yet. You mentioned that today was an off day. Are you usually out on missions? Should I just check by the camp and see what the schedule is?
Well, people are running missions all the time, and sometimes we're not. Just swing by the camp and ask the sentry if Sky is in. You're free to visit me whenever I'm there.
I did. Well, thank you kindly. I'm sure I'll be seeing you around the camp.
Did you will. Good luck on your mission.
and she grins and bounces away.
Mm-hmm. Tail end of the day. Anything specific for anybody you would like to accomplish?
Negative.
I was gonna have Audie go and find some place to perform, but I think after the day of training, she's a bit more introspective, so she'll help her mom, get the young ones to bed, and probably spend time just kind of sitting by the fire, staring into it, piecing with her thoughts.
Okay. If nothing else, we will move to the following day. click, 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 click. Which it is a comfortable 15 with a warm rain predicted to carry out for most of the day. But all of you rest well. Some of you are up a little earlier than others, in the case of Lilith, and probably Roz, who passed out a little earlier in the day.
Yeah.
So the goal is today, ideally, you all head out for your mission. So, what is everybody's preparation to do so?
Get the gun.
Your gun.
That's my preparation anyway.
Yep. Reasonable.
Well, it's just double checking all of her equipment, getting it all on, leaving behind things that she doesn't think she's going to need. And,
We talked to the previous people who went on the mission, right? And kind of got like a feel for what we need.
Jason Viren. Yeah.
Jason Viren.
Yeah. So, super simple. We didn't talk explicitly at length, but it's super important to note that the initial mission was to go cull a bunch of saber wolves that moved into farmland. The farmland is tended to by a group of farmers, of which, when Jason Viren was staying there, they were given shelter, a place to rest.
Right.
So you have a place to stay. That is basically a base of operations. Food is available to you as well. So you can bring some rations, but you wouldn't probably need to bring the full amount. And you're not traveling overly far. Like, based off of testimony from Viren and Jace both, the Saberwolf den that they identified is like a 4 or 5 hour hike from the edge of the farmland. So, yeah, so pretty bare minimum in terms of like survival camping equipment.
Not a ton of equipment needed.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, yeah, Titan's not going to bring a whole lot. As usual, medical supplies and a lantern, I think.
Phone, wallet, keys, armor, sword, axe, backpack. We're good to
Yep,
go.
Yep, usual. Yep. You got to do the pocket check, right? The 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Phone, wallet, keys.
Phone, wallet, keys. Make sure your door's locked.
Yep.
Head out. Go back because you're not sure your door's locked.
Mm-hmm.
Do that several times because you have a mental illness. I know how to leave a house.
Okay, I mean, if there's no pressing matters, Corona's gonna go finally go get her gun.
Yep.
Yeah, which you're saved a little bit of trouble, Corona. As Vanya will pretty much run into you as you're leaving the Greenwood camp.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And you see she's got a bundle, a wrapped bundle that she's carrying in her arms. She's got a smear of oil across one of her cheeks. She's still in her gear with the blacksmith's apron and a bunch of tools belted to her waist. Well, hey Corona, good morning, good timing. I've come to deliver my masterpiece is maybe a strong word, but my latest creation.
I'm sure it'll be a masterpiece compared to what I was using.
Well, I mean, yeah, if we're gonna compare them, definitely a masterpiece, one of a kind, never to be beaten by anything like that. All right, yeah, let's just find a quick place to sit, and I can break it down for you.
Yeah, she'll nod to that and follow her.
Yeah, so yeah, Vanya just sort of marches into an area, finds a fire pit that isn't overly occupied, and just picks 2 of the the stump stools there to squat on. All right, so and she lays down the bundle and just unwraps it up to both sides until it's completely open. To which you see, lying in the middle, to keep it very simple, it is a sawed-off shotgun. It's a double short barreled shotgun. And she picks it up. She drops the front half of it, and you can see that the tubes are just very basic, but well manufactured, well made. The grip is wood reinforced with iron. There's a little maker's mark stamped into the handle that you can see.
Nice.
It is well reflected in her dwarven heritage, the simple but expert nature in which all the parts were made. She'll sort of show it to you that its make is basic, simple, easy to clean, easy to take apart. She'll show you all the various safeties and latches. We'll and then pull out the small box next to her, which you hear some things rattle around, and she'll open it up, and inside there are several small cylinders that look like they've been packed full and then sealed shut. All right, so your pistols were very basic. This weapon is likewise very basic, but it does something better in that it doesn't have any of the fail points that the other ones did, such as the fact that this weapon can be submerged in water and you don't have to worry about taking it apart and cleaning it before you can choose to fire it again. The ammunition likewise is relatively watertight. I wouldn't, go take any extended several hour long swims in the ocean or anything with it. But that being said, if your weapon is loaded and you have to ford a river for any reason, on the other side, you could probably draw this weapon and fire perfectly fine. The good news is,
go ahead.
with these, and she holds up one of the shells, there is no chance of these misfiring or breaking your weapon. And she opens up the shotgun and she loads 2 shells, and you see her sort of click it shut with one hand, kind of watching the motion for the reload. It's fairly simple. When you pull the trigger, it'll fire one tube, and then you have to pull back this hammer, and you pull it again, it'll fire the second one. And then to eject it, all you have to do is open it again, and both shells will just pop out. This gun cannot jam. There's no way anything gets stuck anywhere, nothing that can't easily be fixed with a flick of your thumb.
God damn, and that's loading it?
Yeah.
She's just kind of like pointing out to just put the shells in the tubes.
Yeah. So she does again. Yeah, she takes the shells out and she hands you the gun closed, and then just sort of shows you where the latch is that releases the tension to allow the gun to open up, and then just directs you very just like with a hand, just like, okay, now you take this and you put it in the hole, and you take the round thing and put it in the round thing. And you take the second round thing and put it in the second round thing, and then all you have to do is flick it back and the latch will catch and it's ready to fire.
Hell of a lot easier than having to mess with powder. Man.
Yeah, well, so that's just it. The powder's in the shells. This is the part where the firearm technology is getting better as time goes on, is that the ammunition needs to evolve with the weapons. This weapon, as I said, is still very basic. It's just reliable. The downside is it doesn't carry the same amount of range that the pistols did that you had before. I would say, really, if you have a choice in the matter, the closer you are, the better off this is going to be for you. But you probably won't be hitting very much outside of 20 feet with these, really. So,
All right.
If you need something longer range, for the time being, carry a crossbow or longbow if that's your style.
Yeah, I actually still got my longbow from Greenwood, so.
Yeah. So I think that'll do. Otherwise, yeah, this is good. It's easy. You can fire off both shots very quickly. And again, do not point and pull the trigger at anything unless you really intend on hurting it, because it's going to make some. If they were on the fence about trying to be friends with you after this, they won't be. So be certain.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
She Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say she's just looking at this, and despite its simplicity, it's like ticking every box that she asked for. So she is very obviously satisfied with it. And if she was gonna say something else, I'd rather she say it now before I continue, because she might derail a little bit.
No, she was just going to then hand the box of shells to you.
Okay.
I made 20 of these. That was as much as I could get in readily available gunpowder.
No, it's fine. I appreciate it. I think 20, especially if you make it as deadly as it sounds, should be plenty.
Oh, yeah, I'm speaking from my work. I think it's gonna be fine. But like I said, you won't be able to get any more of these unless I make them for you. So
Gotcha.
be mindful. If you feel like you need more, throw me some silver, and I can have some more made for you.
All right.
Just know that you will not be finding any of these anywhere else.
All right. Well, I'll be operating under that assumption then, just like I was before. But I know who to call. Speaking of which,
Mm-hmm.
you did me a solid with this, and I really appreciate it. I know you're after, bandits and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
while I'm going out there with everyone, do you want me to keep an eye on someone, on anyone, in case you want something from out there? Just in general?
You see her stop and consider. Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not really hurting for like various supplies, and I doubt you're gonna go find a, cache of gunpowder out in the wilderness. I mean, hey, if you want to throw money at me, I'm not gonna say no. But I'm not hurting for anything. I have what I need.
All right.
If anything, I would just say perhaps be more willing that if I, have a burning need to go kill some bandits sometime, that maybe you just tag along and make sure I don't get snuck up on.
Sure. I think I could do that, and I'll keep an eye out for stuff. Even if it's just scrap that maybe you can work with.
Well, I mean,
But,
I'll take anything you're willing to throw at me. Materials are materials.
right. All right, well, just figured I'd ask you. And if you change your mind at any point, just let me know.
If something comes up, you'll be the first person I come to. Unless you're not
Right.
around, in which case I'll go to someone else.
Sounds good. And Corona is going to stretch her hand out for a shake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Vanya doesn't hesitate. And she's got a mean shake, too.
Yeah.
I
Corona
think-
tries to...
Yeah, you getting one of
do
those little
that.
handshake off?
Yeah.
Yeah, make an athletics check.
Okay. Athletics. Oh,
Ooh.
okay.
Wow.
24.
That's really good.
Terminator.
Yeah,
magic.
yeah. Like, like I said, Vanya doesn't even hesitate, like leans into a pretty strong handshake. And then you start pushing back, and she pushes back a little, but it becomes very clear after a moment that you begin to overpower her.
But it's not a bad that, so Corona's just gonna,
Yeah.
say, well, pleasure doing business with you, Vanya.
Yep. Just like I said, make sure you only point that at things that you don't want to be friends with.
Don't worry. I'll get some practice in real soon, I'm sure. All right, well, I'll let you know how it, how it performs
Yep.
on the field.
Yeah, please do. If you have criticisms, keep them to yourself.
All right, I will. Thanks again.
Yep.
Best be going.
Yeah. Safe travels. Good killing. And
Corona, thank her. Yeah.
yeah, she rolls up her bundle and strides off with a wave, in the air as she leaves.
There is actually one other thing, but it might be best to see what everyone else is doing, because it'll be something that Corona does before we walk through the portal, before
Yeah.
we're ready to walk through the portal.
Yeah, fair. All right, everybody else. Anything special? Or is it just get your stuff and get ready?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, Audie's probably gonna do some like vocal warm ups after her lessons. So
Mhm.
she'll wander a bit of the way out of camp, but she was probably up with her brother at like 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So she finds a way to go somewhere as secluded as possible and kind of warm up her voice a bit, and then come back and
Fair.
be ready to go.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, Titan's raring to go. He's ready to go on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And Roz is the same.
Okay. Well, then in which case, the Greenwood Mercs are gathering together to head off. So, Corona, what is your specific thing you need to do?
Once we're all together, specifically, once Melody is there,
Right.
yeah, she is going to, get her attention and say, "Hey, Melody, you got a moment?"
Of course.
And she'd come over.
Here, I got something for you. Like I promised. Let me know if the size ain't good. Tried to remember as best as I could, and she'll pull out the boots that she's been working on and present them to you. She'll hold one up so you can see it nice and close if you want.
And Audie wastes absolutely no time. She finds a place to sit immediately and like pulls off the boots that she had from Greenwood that are probably a little worn out. We didn't walk too far, but it was,
Mhm.
as we've seen, they weren't comfortable. She's like, oh my lovelies, they're perfect. Thank you so much. And she'll jump up after like getting them secured and on her feet. And without warning, she'll wrap Corona in a hug unless she is deft enough to escape. If she's, doesn't want to be hugged.
No, she was kind of expecting it, so she doesn't fight back. She doesn't look completely comfortable, but she's not gonna push you off either.
Yeah, and she doesn't hold on too long, but it's like a very kind of like Corona was with her handshake the day before.
Yeah.
But he just comes in and gives her a huge hug, and then gives it a prancing step, a dancing step a bit. She's like,
They feel wonderful.
Good. If something comes undone, they need fixing, just let me know. I'd be glad to work on them. But it should help with the walk if we're, gonna be hiking for the next 5 or 6 hours. And Corona just kind of stays quiet after that, but she's got a pretty satisfied smile seeing someone enjoying her work.
They are very nice boots. Yeah. In which case, you all head towards the teleportation gate all the way to the east.
Yes.
In this current instance, you are the only group there this time. And the Way Mage, the elven spellcaster that is responsible for this duty, is there as always with their staff waiting. They turn and give you a cool, appreciative gaze. Ticket, please. Which is, the tag given to you by Covert for your missions.
Ticket given? I assume we have it.
Yeah.
We all look at Roz.
Yeah. Assumedly, you stopped and spoke to Covert on. We're like, oh, hey, we're going on a mission today. He goes, all right, well, here's your thing.
Yeah. Hand over the ticket. No embarrassing snafus.
Yeah, and they go through the same process where they write the spell, and a new slip. And they give you the slip, and then they will finish the casting of the spell, to which the staff goes in, twists it, you hear pieces move, and then the gate, the portal, flashes to life.
Well, zero hesitation as always, into the portal.
Yep,
Boom,
absolutely.
Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
And you all charge through. As you arrive on the other side, teleportation is still new to all of you. Everybody make me a con save.
15.
Sufficient.
19.
Sufficient.
True to Titan's hatred of teleportation, an 8.
Not great, yeah.
21.
Oh.
Oh, both Lilith and Titan.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone else goes through. Yeah, Adi and Roz and Kronok. Oh, hey, this is just getting a little bit better. Titan and Lilith going. Oh yeah, Oh, hang on a second. As you're both overwhelmed by a sudden bout of nausea and lightheadedness from the rapid magical teleportation that gives you a bit of motion sickness. A little bit of breathing, a little bit of cold water sipping. After about 10 minutes, it recedes. In the meantime, the other three who were not affected by this, you could observe in the area that you're kind of standing on a small rise overlooking a large open valley, of which you can tell houses the aforementioned farm, and that you can see several varied areas where different types of plants and fruits and trees have been given their own little swaths of land and cultivated appropriately. The largest amount of which seems to be housed to rice, and that you can see these several built up hilled areas that have these heavy watered areas with these very small bridges built across them. There's a orchard of trees beyond as well, and then several other segments of various different rows and trellises that look like they are probably growing a type of grape or berry. And to the far south, there is a farmer's stead, a home with several other buildings surrounding it, along with various buildings that you can tell would normally be a part of storage for tools and storage for the goods they harvest. Everything looks to be in order. Nothing seems out of the ordinary or untoward. And you can see there are people currently working in the fields. You have a roughly drawn map given to you by Viren that sort of gives you an idea as to the arrival point, which you think you've arrived roughly in the same location that they did. The layout of the farm, along with a rough estimation as to the direction in which they found the Saberwolf's den, and where they think something spooky is hiding within. Technically speaking, you do not have to stop and speak to anybody at the farm. So what you do from here is up to you.
Right, you two, you okay over there?
I hate teleporting.
It does not taste better the second time.
Alright, well, might need to choke it back because we're here and
Stop.
oh, there's a lot of fruit. I'm gonna go steal some while we get on our way.
I mean, you could ask him too.
I could, or I could just pick some. It's food.
Or if we just call it an advance for taking care of the wolves, then, eh?
If they stop and ask us, we tell them what we're here to do. Otherwise, up to all of you, which you'd prefer, if you'd rather go talk to the farmers now, or if we just head straight on to the den.
Well, if it's easier for all of you, I can put a word in with them. Just let them know that we're here. That way, if we need to retreat for some reason, they don't wonder why they got a bunch of bloody people at their doorstep.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I think we should let them know we're here.
Right then, quick stop to let the farmers know we're here. Then we can get on our way.
That sounds good to me.
Right. Well, Corona, you seem keen on taking the lead. By all means, let's go meet some
Alright.
farmers.
Corona will lead then. If if Lilith and Titan are good to follow.
Titan just has like some herbs he's given to Lilith and himself and chewing on.
Mm.
She looks up at him and just mouths, "Thank you."
It's just a ginger root. Just chew on this.
It's an established fact that people with high intelligence suffer greatly from teleportation sickness.
They have to carry their big brain.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just they're giving themselves a concussion every time because it's the brain bouncing off of the skull. But Corona, you lead the way down into the farmland proper.
Yeah.
Do you cut through the field or do you go around towards where the abodes are built?
If she thinks she can cut through it without messing stuff up too much for them, she'll do that, unless if it's like not that much of a difference between the two of them.
It depends on where you think the person you want to talk to is.
Oh,
like I said, there are workers in the fields and the various aspects of it, so you could just walk your way through there, in which case you would run into
Right.
a farmhand. Or, I mean, the owner, depending upon where they are or what they're doing, right? Or you could
think
go to the abode. So, really.
We'll say the abode just because the owners are. Well, I mean, they're not guaranteed to be there, but better than a random worker.
Fair. Okay, yeah. You take a little tour around. Easy to appreciate that the care that's gone into cultivating the land here. The crop here looks healthy and well cared for. The homes are on the larger side, but not ostentatious. And they have a lot of like open balconies with these huge windows that look into rooms. Everything's got a lot of great circulation, which you think is a very common thing in Savanus due to the climate. But once you're down there, you do see that a couple of farmhands, all of you would notice that amongst the fields as you're kind of now passing by them. Some of them are taking note of you, but some of them look up and then just go back to their work. But before long, when you're heading closer to the abode, you do see that someone starts walking towards you. And as they close in distance, you see that this person is, as we talked about kind of earlier, a quite an old elf, judging by the fact that their age is showing, and that their hair is completely bleached white. But it is, tied up in a high ponytail. Looks like it goes down to about their mid-back. They carry themselves with a firm stature, with a body that looks like it's lived a long life of farming, a suntan to match, and they have a walking alongside them what looks like a farm dog. It's got a very short coat, but very pointed ears and a long snout, and it's walking kind of similar to its owner. It's chest out. Shoulders back, high-held head. Looks like a very attentive dog. And as you get closer and closer, you'll see the farmer give a small, short wave.
Yep, Corona will give it back.
I was beginning to wonder when the next group would come through. Can I assume that you're mercenaries sent from the camp?
That's correct, sir. We're here to finish the job that the two gentlemen that came here before started.
Oh, very, very good. My name is Dan Thier. It's a pleasure to meet you. While you're here, for however long the duration is, much like with the other two, we have accommodations for you to stay. They are nothing fancy, but roof over your head, and we likewise can make sure you have meals for the day, and fresh water, and the basic amenities that we all share here.
It's very much appreciated. We won't be bothering you right away. We're going to be going through and trying to finish that job, but if all goes well, we won't really be in your hair for too long. We just wanted to pass by and let you know that we were here. Just make ourselves known.
It's appreciated. I'll make sure to let everyone know there's a new group. For what it is worth, the Saber Wolves have been fewer since the last group left, but we still have had a handful come visit us in the day and a half since then. Our watchdog here, and you see him put a hand on the head of the very proud dog that's standing next to him, has done well to ward off the smaller numbers. So I would advise you to still be cautious and wary, heading further into their territory.
You say they come out here during daytime, nighttime?
When the numbers were greater, it was at any time of day. Since the numbers have been reduced, it's less consistent, but we've seen some in the morning and some later into the evening, right before heading to bed. I couldn't say that there is a noticeable pattern. They just seem extremely agitated.
Krona nods and kind of looks back towards the rest of the group to see if they want to ask or say anything. Take that as a no? Okay.
As I say, Audie kind of looks around and goes,
What's the dog's name?
Oh, pardon me for not introducing the guardian of the farm. This is Acorn. And the dog's eyes look from just ahead and then look at Audie. Like as if being acknowledged by the owner to the person that was inquiring.
and Audie will give the dog a bit of a wave.
Hi there, Coon. I'm Odie.
He squints at you.
She squints right back.
Are you squinting at the dog?
I started it.
Oh, that's a good dog. You're a good dog, aren't you, Acorn?
He squints at you.
Why are you squinting at me? I just want to pet you.
He's been a little on edge since the Saber Wolf attacks. He is, in fact, a good boy.
I won't try to pet him.
Well, sounds like that's our cue to make his life a little easier then.
It would be appreciated. Would you like me to introduce you to the druid?
There's a druid.
Yes. One that was sent here to try to care for the wolves. They've been, quite difficult, for the other mercenaries to work with.
Then yeah, we'd love to meet the druid.
All right. If you follow me, they have a small camp to the western side of the farm here. Better yet, Acorn, would you take them to Willow, please? And the dog goes and like an affirmative, and then turns and then looks over its shoulder at all of you, and then walks, stops and turns to make sure you're following, and then picks up the pace.
The dog is so smart.
He is extremely wise, yes.
Well, I will get my chance to pet him eventually, but I'll be respectful for now. And follow the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you, Elder.
He gives you a nod. And you follow Acorn at a brisk pace to the western side of the farm. After a few minutes, you kind of cruise up and over the small hill there, onto the overlooking area, and you see that from there, it gets to be quite a bit more jungly, a lot more foliage, a lot of twisted, bending coconut trees, along with another sizable river that you can see kind of cuts down a part of the land, and then a bunch of tributaries that are kind of bleeding off of it. But not too far from where you've sort of crested the hill, about 40 or so feet away, where there's several coconut trees sort of gathered together. There is what you can tell is a makeshift camp, which is pretty polite, given that in general, druids tend to not make very obvious-looking camps. But you can see that there's a person there currently tending to. An Acorn will just, again, shoulder check, make sure you're all following still, and then, take off at a trot, getting you to the edge of the campsite. To which, when you get closer, you see that there is this druid in question, on the shorter side, shorter than many of you, about 4 feet, 4'2" maybe.
Shorter than everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they look like they're either a really tall gnome, but they're probably a florin, given the slightly heavier structure that they carry. They are garbed in a set of emerald green robes that look very familiar to you, in that you saw several of the helpers of the Greenskeeper wearing similar robes. This person looks like they've been away from a little while. They're, a bit dirty, bit scuffed up in places, equipment that you can tell has seen quite a bit of use. And Acorn gets you to the edge of the camp, and you see this person, who you know is named Willow, turn. Acorn, who you bring into my camp? Right. More mercs. Great. Right. Thank you. Go on. And Acorn just stood there. You didn't hear anything. He wasn't even barking back. And then eventually, just kind of like at the go on, he just turn and leave. Hello. I'm Willow. A Green's helper from the Emerald Boughs. Are you more mercenaries from the camp?
Where?
That's right. We're here to help with the wolves.
Right, and just so we can be on the same page, what is helping with the wolves exactly?
Well, the main thing is figuring out why they've gone crazy. But if there's no other recourse, then try and call their numbers a bit.
We were told something was driving them out of their habitat. If we can, we drive that out, then drive them back.
Yes. That's well and good. The previous mercenaries that I had the pleasure of working with were very dead set on removing them versus attempting to figure out what was wrong with them. It seemed as if they were a bit impatient. Given that now that I've had several bodies to look over, they don't seem to be healthy. Something seems to have been affecting them. Their brain specifically has been inflamed. And so these are creatures not in their right minds, doing things that they wouldn't normally do, and as such, it is not right for us just to kill them because they are an inconvenience. So, as the very astute Dragon Eye has said, if we could find the cause, that would be great, and remove it. And then we can worry about dealing with the saber wolves as a problem. However, and the inevitable outcome the others reached, which is your safety, will be compromised by entering into their territory when these creatures can't make good decisions. And I'm going to be honest with all of you. From the looks of you, I don't think you're going to be able to get in there without being noticed by them. So, now with all that said, has your opinion changed on helping? Or are you here just to kill?
No, we're here to help. He looks at everybody.
Corona nods.
Certainly love to help.
But their brains were inflamed, you say? You still have specimens. We taken a fungal infection.
No, not quite. Specimen I have is over a day old now. But I can show you some of my notes and show you the remnants of one of the brains. It doesn't appear to be fungal. There's nothing growing. Looking into it, the brains themselves seem to have, as I mentioned, become inflamed and then started to rapidly deteriorate. There was no obvious external factors, such as spores. However, there is something. Follow me, if you would. Just sort of walks you like 10, 15 feet away from the camp, on the north side of the camp, and just sort of points to a spot. You can see there are several mounds that have been dug, and things have been buried. But there is one specific spot that you can tell around the mound where there's still, quite a bit of grass and greenery around others. This one, it has slowly begun to decay outwards from where that spot was buried. That is where I've buried the brains. And whatever has been affecting them has been seeping into the soil and killing everything around it. Now, given that I couldn't physically see or detect anything with my magic, it makes me think that it is magical in nature, but not in such a one that I can detect. So not natural.
Interesting.
That may line up with the report that there was something strange that they found coming from that cave.
Yes, very well could. The problem is getting to the cave. Given that the saber wolves are no longer living in it, they have instead surrounded it. And so trying to get there to investigate it is extremely dangerous. And as such, halted my ability to continue trying to find what the cause of the problem is.
All right. I don't suppose you've got any suggestions for getting in there besides hack our way through.
You could try digging, I suppose, if one of you is magically inclined enough.
Have they been responsive to magic to themselves?
Not in a way that my magic has been able to aid them, or even understand them. the observation I've had for my magic, which is of the Greenskeeper natural, it seems to rebound from them.
And I suppose you've tried scaring them? Magical or otherwise?
It's hard for someone such as myself to do a show of force against a sizable pack of saber wolves, especially since their alpha is quite stubborn, honestly. And given that to it, I am but a small snack, perhaps someone of the Dragon Knight's stature might be better suited.
Well, we can always give it a try. I noticed you communicating with Acorn there.
Yes?
I assume you've tried to do the same with the saber wolves.
Correct. As I said, my magic seems to rebound from them. It was one of the reasons why I began investigating their brains in the first place. It wasn't as if I could not have the ability to communicate with them, but the magic responsible for allowing us to speak with them through natural magic seemed to rebound off of them, as if something was already in effect and was in such a pervasive manner that it would disallow it. And again, we'll gesture to the hole in the ground that is rotting, all the vegetation around it. Something is wrong. I just can't figure out what it is without getting to the den.
Okay, but if we could get you into the den, do you think you could help us figure it out?
That would be the ideal goal, yeah.
Right.
But I am also not fond of the answer being kill everything on our way to get there. It is not the mission I was given. My mission was to come here to care for them, and killing the entire pack would be a failure for me.
Has anyone tried to subdue them? Can you sedate them?
I can't, unfortunately. And the only other people that have been sent here to try to deal with this were the two before you. And, well, they came packing more brawn than problem-solving skills, so they did not have a good answer for this.
Audie will kind of look to Titan.
You've done surgeries in the village.
Well, I didn't pack too many vials of, and he's just kind of looking through his medical kit. He's like, I've got a couple things, but if we're gonna sedate them with potions, I would need to gather materials. I don't have enough for an entire pack. And since I don't usually work with animals, he looks at the druid. You would have to assist me in knowing the dosage. I'd hate to overdose them. Or, underdose them.
Alright. We could work on that. It would take some time. There are some herbs in the area that could be used as a sedative. It would be temporary. And there's would still be the issue of the leader of the pack, who is substantially more developed than the other saber wolves. Allow me to correct myself, is overdeveloped compared to the other saber wolves, and that it is larger, like the size of a bear. And is smarter. However, in its state, I think it is one of the only ones that does not yet succumb to whatever this infection is. If we want to take time to gather herbs, we could, but I do not know how much time you all have. I would not ask the impossible of you. I understand that mercenaries have time constraints, and your mission would be to complete this, not mine.
We got a few days.
I mean, if that's not a viable solution, you suggested that perhaps subduing the Alpha or intimidating it might cause the others to leave us alone.
That is possible. There still might be a part of their brains left that would understand their leader being toppled. But you still run into the same problem of the fact that you will likely have to subdue many saber wolves before you finally find and confront their leader. So the danger will be no less, because while you might all have the best intentions in trying to help me, they have only one driving force, which would be to kill and eat you. If you...
What sort of perimeter do they keep around the cave? Do you know how the distance...
They've taken up to keeping refuge in the jungle surrounding it. I've been able to sneak close in the form of an animal, but they tend to catch wind of me when I get within a couple 100 feet. So if I wish to try to make a mad dash into the cave, I would be harried for that distance. There is a river that runs through the area. There could be a chance to swim up, or if you were to hike far enough, swim down and attempt to enter the area. The river is not very far from the entrance I'm aware of.
Kind of looks at the rest of the group and he's like, so far, it sounds to me like river might be the best option.
Are we confident that we can swim that river?
It is on the faster side, but it is small. So if you don't have a confident swimmer, they could very easily find something to grab onto. Or if you have an overly confident swimmer, perhaps attach that person to them.
Well, both of these plans sound a bit risky. And wouldn't it just be embarrassing if we died all drowning in a river? Small one at that.
I mean, we're not from near a lake. I think we know how to swim.
How deep does the river get?
It varies. At its deepest point, 15 feet, perhaps.
Titan nods. Then we don't need to swim the whole river, just the deepest parts. I can aid you shorter people.
That's all of us.
Titan nods.
And for what it's worth, I can't speak for the height challenge, such as myself, but those of you, and you see him stop and look at Titan, Corona, and Roz, that are a bit more physically inclined, you could probably even take a leap from one side of the river to the other. If such a gap were to present itself.
Well, if it seems like it's possible, then it might be worth doing. But no way to tell until we get there.
I'm just thinking in terms of efficiency and minimizing the amount of saber wolves we have to knock out. I'm a decent digger, but not fast enough to get there in the time we've got.
Really should have thought about buying a shovel.
That wasn't a serious suggestion anyway. A lot of the area around where the den is stone. You would be hard pressed to actually successfully dig your way in. Although, kudos for the gung-ho attitude.
I did a bit of training with Sergeant Sky yesterday after receiving the mission. I might be able to try some of my magic. It's not earth magic like yours, but it's not book magic either.
And what exactly could you do?
Well, I might be able to put a few of them to sleep. Maybe.
I'm familiar with your magic. The pack isn't so small that you could reliably knock them all out with that spell. You could maybe knock out 2 or 3 to enable your sneaking in, perhaps.
If we get close enough to the Alpha, then just to get 2 or 3 and the Alpha himself.
That's assuming your magic doesn't bounce off too. But
Well, best hope it doesn't bounce off and hit us, isn't it?
right.
Well, pardon my usage of the word. It wasn't reflecting back at me. It was just not being affected.
It felt like when he tried to communicate, it snapped back.
Yes.
Not it bounced the spell back.
Yes. Should you ever find such saber wolves that could do that, please contact somebody immediately.
Well, have you ever known an alpha wolf that could speak common, or do you need to use your special magics to speak to them?
Well, normally most animals can't speak to us at all. They don't have the structure to do so. But I have met many animals in my service to the Greenskeeper that are intelligent enough to understand a spoken language. Which is safe to say I've not had a conversation with the Alpha because, as previously mentioned, I believe I would be an afternoon snack.
Even though he's not affected by the
I said
diseases.
Perhaps he wasn't affected because I've observed a higher intelligence. There is no guarantee, which is one I am currently unable to risk, just to verify that the Alpha perhaps could be spoken with. Now, if all of you were capable of getting into a position for us to corner the Alpha, for me to be able to speak to it then, we might be able to get information out of it. But then you must also understand that odds are that these creatures, which still observe a hierarchy to a point, if they observe their leader being attacked, will converge on us, and the pack, while the numbers have been reduced significantly thanks to the previous pair of mercs that have come through here, there are still over 30 or so saber wolves in the area. So I'm just merely trying to help you understand the danger.
Still sounds to me like river's the best bet. Lower numbers by the river. We go the river. Anything we come across, Audie can hopefully put to sleep. Anything she can't, we'll try and knock out. We make our way to the caves.
I can do my best to try and lead everyone through quietly, but it's only going to be so long until one of them spots us, and that's the whole pack now.
By then we might be in a disadvantageous position and completely surrounded. But I love a good fight.
My confidence in being able to sneak past humans is limited. My confidence in sneaking past saber wolves is near nil.
Do you have any control over the winds?
The winds? No, unfortunately not. Not in a way, perhaps, to not have a scent carried towards them, if that was your thinking.
It was
Yes. I do have a magic available to me that could help with remaining unnoticed, but its magic is limited, and it will only help a degree against those of you who are, well, carrying around a bunch of tin strapped to your bodies.
Roz does a noisy little hop.
Mm-hmm. Yes, my point. So, I am willing to help you if it means my conclusion results in the least amount of saber wolf deaths as possible. I know the area well, and I am a competent healer, if nothing else. I'm not much good in a fight, however.
You know, we can only promise to try. It may come to the point where we have only the option to fight. And if that comes, are you prepared for us to do that?
I am not asking you to throw your lives away for my mission, but I will have you understand the consequences of me failing this mission only means to extend to the displeasure of the Greenskeeper. So if a relationship with that being matters to you, you would do well to attempt to succeed at both.
Be best to be on our Fazio's memory then. Keep to the mission best we can.
Like I said, we're here to help. The mission isn't just to kill saber wolves. We are friends of the Greenskeeper. I'd prefer to do whatever it takes to keep him, them, it happy.
That is wise. Well, our brainstorming does seem to have bared fruit. I think if we hike to the north, find the appropriate river, I use my magic to attempt my best to reduce the amount of noise that all of you will produce. We can travel down the river until such a time that we come within the Saber Wolf territory, ideally closer to the entrance than not. And either subdue the alpha to speak to it, which comes with quite a few risks, or sneak directly into the den and attempt to deal with whatever the problem is within, at the very least to find out what it is.
I mean, that's my plan. Any questions, concerns, other valid plans?
Nope. Seems pretty straightforward to me.
If I think of something better, I'll let you all know.
All right. Well, it sounds like we're in agreement then. Allow me to gather some supplies, and if you are ready to leave now, we can head out.
Just one moment. Maybe we should have a look at this grass over here. The stuff that's being infected, see if we can figure anything out.
Yeah, of course. I find it very interesting that the brains are infecting the grass and the nature around it. But when our druid friend here inspected the brains, it doesn't seem to have affected him.
You know, you've made an interesting point I've not considered. And the druid reaches into the top of their tunic and pulls out a thing on a leather thong and shows you an emblem, which looks like a twisted branch made into a circle with a emerald held aloft by twine in the middle. A protection of the Greenskeeper. It might have been protecting me from harm without my knowing it. If that is the case, if you really wish to investigate it, be aware that it might likewise affect you.
Titan looks at Lilith and says, well, I'm certainly someone who prides himself on his brain. I'd far rather not have it deteriorate. And quite frankly, a mad Titan would be a problem for all of us. What about you, Lilith? Willing to risk that big brain of yours?
I'd rather not. Not without knowing at least how it spreads.
Titan nods. Nah, agreed. We'll just have to trust the skills of our friend here.
Unless one of you has a brain you're willing to give up.
Roz, put your hand down.
I didn't raise it.
Oh, I see. You're the idiot of the group then.
Where is that remark?
Yeah, that tracks. All right, I'll get my stuff together, and we can depart in 10 minutes if you like. Getting in the position to be on the north side of the river to travel in will extend the rough trip time to where the den is by about 6 hours. We will be working with limited daylight.
Glad I brought a lantern.
Okay. Well, with no further words of protest, Willow will gather several things from his camp and toss them into a side satchel that he has. And finally ended with grabbing a staff that looks like it's a shaft of wood that looks like it's still actively growing because there's small green buds on it and several flowers that are currently blooming on it. Well, if you are all resolved to this plan, we can be underway.
Let's get started before we start losing daylight.
And you head off into the jungle. Willow is a competent guide. He knows the area very well. And is happy to talk about the flora and fauna in the area, including those that have been affected by the sudden movement of the saber wolf pack further east. That they've displaced several herbivores that would normally inhabit the area closer to the farm, and that's probably going to take a couple of years to set things right again. Yeah, and it's a couple of hours. During that time, is there anything anyone wants to do?
Nope.
Just keep an eye out, an ear out for the surrounding wolves, potentially. But other than that, nope.
Lilith is doing her best to get familiar with the terrain so that she knows what to watch out for when they're sneaking.
Okay. Corona, perception check. Lilith, survival check.
Okay.
I'm gonna burn inspiration.
Me too.
Do you have any left?
15 total.
15.
Okay. Yeah, both are pretty sufficient. During the time, Corona, while you're walking, you observe, there are a couple of, critters that live in trees, small marsupials, that kind of, have these long, huge leap distances that they cover. An occasional one will throw like a very young, like, coconut at you. Yeah, because
Okay.
it's like the size of a golf ball.
Mhm.
I hear about to say they threw their children at us.
No.
Yeah.
But there isn't much else in terms of wildlife. You see that there's like a couple of these marsupials and some birds that are still in the area. And the birds here, in comparison to where you have all come from in the town of Greenwood, are very colorful and very beautiful here. Several of them have like these long sweeping feathers, and they're just these absolutely like fluorescent, pinks and greens and yellows. Otherwise, there isn't any danger you'd observe during the time that you guys are moving.
Cool.
Lilith, so first and foremost, this area is quite humid. The air is sticky. Ideally all of you dress down for being in this environment. The ground is quite soft and that it's very moist. So you guys are walking, and especially those of you that are heavier and wearing heavier armor, you'll feel, your boots sink a bit. In certain places worse than others. To which it would lead you to believe, Lilith, that that if there was an area that would dip lower than where you're currently at, it would probably become very difficult for someone to move in. So as long as you're kind of keeping track of what your current rough elevation is, you think if there's ever a point where someone has to descend, to maybe bear in mind that if it's one of the heavier folks, they might, get their boots stuck in mud. Otherwise, like, you've lived in Saphinus for a little bit. You've traveled in it. The type of environment that you're in terms of, like, what's here, the trees and the greenery, is not unfamiliar to you. Which is to say, for both of you, Lilith and Chrono, you would observe an affectation of the saber wolves having temporarily migrated, which is several trees, and the occasional even like rock or boulder or pile of them that are nearby. You'll see that they have these scratches or slash marks sort of riven into them where they've run by, which is sort of interesting to watch and to take note of the fact that these creatures that naturally developed these sharp bone protrusions, they are sharp enough to leave these sorts of marks, which does at least give you an idea that they can be quite dangerous if you're not being mindful of yourself. But time will march on as you do through this jungle area of Saphinus. Try to advance a little. I lost track. 10, 11, 12.
You advanced 7 hours.
Yep, 3. So yeah, during this hike, you'll spend quite a bit of time moving along, eventually arriving to an area where the humidity has risen, and you can hear this faster moving stream that Willow noted earlier, of which, as he said, if you find the right spot, several of you who are quite strong could probably leap this and make it to the other side. Perhaps at its widest points not, but at the right ones for sure. And then taking into consideration, the closer you get to this river, the softer the soil gets. And that perhaps landing on the other side might have unexpected results if you're not mindful. But you see that it is at a rapid current traveling south, and has an occasional kind of like whipping turn. But it is perhaps not pleasantly warm, and is quite clear due to the speed in which it's moving. Willow will plant a staff, look at the river, and then turn to regard all of you. Well, this is the place that we would start at. I guess we need to figure out how you all want to situate yourselves, or if there's anything you need to do before we dive in, so to speak. The location we're looking for, the den is dug out of the side of a rocky outcropping. It's one of the highest pieces of terrain, but it'll be about 10 minutes or so down the river before you really catch sight of it. But if you're able to keep your head above water, you could probably spot the outcropping. And if not that, the wolves wandering in the area. So, yeah, whenever you all are ready, we can head on down the river.
Couldn't be more ready. Jump in immediately.
Okay, well, there goes Roz.
Titan will take the time to take his armor off. Put it in his bag, his backpack, as much of it as he reasonably can, so that if something goes terribly wrong, he can just abandon it rather than drown and die.
Right, scale mail, right?
Yep.
Okay. And it's one of those, these rules rarely come up. Okay, it's gonna take you a minute to take it off. Okay.
Okay. He will take a minute to take off his armor.
Mm-hmm.
Do we stop Roz, or is Roz just a minute downstream?
Roz jumped in, so she's a minute
Roz
downstream.
Does it? I might have misheard, but does this look like it would be leapable? Or is that further downstream that it might be leapable?
There are points that you could leap across, yeah. Like I said, it's a river, so it's not perfectly symmetrical, but there are several places along the river that you can cross from one side to the other for those of you with a higher than average strength score.
Okay.
Did anyone think to bring rope? I left mine back at camp.
I got some.
If I can leap across, we can tie rope on either side, and it'll help some of the weaker swimmers.
You want to take the leap, or should I?
Titan looks you up and down. I don't think it matters much, Corona.
All right, then.
You'll land softer than I will.
That's if I land. All right.
I don't think you're strong enough to jump into space.
Let me rephrase that. That's if I land on my feet. I did training for this though. Sure. I guess she will attempt to take a running leap.
There is no check.
Oh, really? Okay.
You have the strength score. You can cover 18 feet easily with a running head start.
Oh, okay, okay.
You can cover the stream, no problem.
All right. Then she'll do that. And the rope situation, we can either leave it on the side where we're all starting at, or she can leap over with it, but she does have 50 feet of rope with her.
My suggestion is that you leap across, holding one end, Titan will hold the other. We'll tie onto trees if we need to. If not, then I think we might be strong enough to help a little.
Kind of hand over hand through the river for the
So,
rest of us.
Yeah,
I'm trying to. Why are we trying to cross the river? We're going.
Weren't we told that we had to
down,
cross the river?
No, we're going down the stream.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Roz is water sliding down the river right now.
No, I misunderstood. I thought we were crossing the river.
I did too,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. You guys hiked northward of where the den is, and the idea is to approach it via the river.
And then end
Misunderstood.
up on the other bank.
End up on
At the
whatever
next bank.
bank you choose to land on. Really.
The point is that
Well,
the
the
river
cave
puts
is-
us closer to our destination.
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. I imagine the cave is on one of the banks.
It is.
Mhm.
It's on the southern
Mhm.
side.
We'll have to end up on the bank that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, then never mind. I
Yeah.
thought we were crossing the river.
I completely misunderstood that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Then never mind all that.
Okay.
Titan
Yeah.
will still shed his armor, but he'll start going downstream. But he's gonna do his best to stay, like, behind the weaker swimmers. Titan wants to bring up the rear, basically.
I mean, yeah.
Do we still want to?
What's a marching order?
I think Roz is way ahead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Roz is definitely
Roz is
first.
far ahead.
She's at least got a minute ahead of everyone else.
Do we want to use the rope for anyone that might not be a confident swimmer, or no?
Keep a hand on it. Keep us together.
Yeah, just tie it to
Yeah.
your waist, probably.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
just conga line.
Yeah,
it.
I
Okay.
still think that's useful.
Okay.
For the record, Lilith spent the minute that Titan was getting his armor off tying her hair up into a bun because, good God.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're just drawing yourself.
That she is also going to be holding onto the rope because she does not have a good track record with fast-moving rivers.
Touche. Do
Oh yeah.
you have a little recurring trauma happening?
I already had an aquaphobia character.
Gotcha. Fair.
All right, in we
Yeah.
go.
Mm-hmm.
So Ra's way up front. Who was jumping in basically first?
I guess Corona, since Titan's kind of bringing up the rear.
Okay.
I think Audie will go next.
Cora. Audie.
Will be after Audie.
Yep, and then
Uh,
Titan.
Weaker swimmers in between the stronger ones.
And if Willow wants to be part of this group, he can be tied into.
No.
Turns into a fish.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The short answer, yeah. As you all sort of assert that you're ready to go, he wild shapes himself into a it's small, kind of snake-like, but it has 4 limbs, kind of like an aquatic lizard, but not a gator. But dives in simultaneously. Likewise, he will then also cast a spell, which will help with you your stealthing excursion,
Hooray.
aka Pass Without Trace,
Nice.
which unfortunately is not going to help Roz in Roz's situation.
Nope.
But I'm sure that won't be a problem. Okay, so we have our order. Who's being tied to who and how? Like, is it like a big old conga line all the way down, or is it just Corona anchoring, having rope tied to, or is it Titan having them? Like, how's that working out?
I mean, I wouldn't suggest that the rope be tied to anyone, but that everyone be hanging on to it. And I
Mhm.
would also suggest that it would be between Titan and Corona, and
Okay.
those that need it can grab
Mhm.
onto it.
Fair
and
enough.
Hang on to it.
Noted.
Because, again, if the rope snags and we're all tied to it,
We all go down.
Mhm.
we all go. Then we all die together. Point
Well,
is
like-
helpful, not
It's not Roz.
For Roz.
Not Roz. Roz is gonna die by herself.
Yep.
Roz will be fine.
Wilf will do one loop around her wrist, but easy enough to slip out of, but
Mm-hmm.
gives her a little bit more.
Okay, well, you figured out your order. You all, one by one, make it into the river. But before we end tonight, we're just gonna go to Roz, who immediately decided to take the water slide down.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, and the river is quick enough, and as long as Roz would level herself out so she didn't pencil straight down, the current would carry her even in her armor. And you're zipping along. Again, it's warm. It's seeping into your under armor. Occasionally kind of like sucking down a mouthful even though you don't want to, a little up your nose. You know, you can't exactly control your buoyancy with the armor on as well as you'd like. But you zip and you go, and you're being mindful to not catch any corners or rocks. And you do this for a few minutes, and the novelty of it wears off a bit quickly. Perhaps you might revisit this if not in your armor one day as a fun activity. But do me a favor and make a perception check, Roz. As you're zipping down and around on this river's current, trying to see where you need to go. Wow, really good. And you kind of hear Willow's voice in your head repeating the landmarks that you're sort of identifying, which is there's this higher rocky slope that the saber wolves dug their den out of. And you're cutting along, and the environment around you is relatively flat, if a bit sloping downwards, trees, foliage, greenery. And then eventually you see as you kind of whip around this corner that off in the distance there's like a 20-foot rocky cliff that is on the southern side of the bank there. And it is rapidly approaching. And with your 18, you can, at a glance, also identify a couple of saber wolves dotting along the banks along the way. What is your plan, Roz?
Well, I assume those saber wolves are watching me, probably.
Not yet, they're not. I mean, unless you're doing like the water slide scream as well while you're going down. They haven't noticed you immediately.
Okay. Are they kind of clumped up where I think I might be able to get past them if they don't notice me?
They are mostly spread out on the northern side of the river. So, here. Let's, want to move you all here.
Goodness, map.
Wait. Hang on. There, activate.
Oh. Lone saber wolf den.
And I will have to...
Darkness.
Yeah, I'm about to say, hang on, let me just, for the sake of all of you being able to see, throw you all on the map. Sorry, the eerie music started a little too soon. Disregard eerie music. For now. There you go. We're all on the western side of the map.
Okay. In that case, Roz would like to try to climb out of the river onto the southern bank.
Preferably before the rocky outcropping starts, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. All right, well, make an athletics check. You basically just got to get purchase.
21.
Sufficient?
It cost me an inspiration, though.
Ah, well, good. Given that the session's about to end, you got them to use. You're rushing down. You see the gathering of saber wolves on the northern bank, and you want to stop yourself before really getting into the thick of where it could be bad or overshooting. And so you shoot out an arm, and you latch onto a root growing out of the bank, and it is just enough for you to hold on to, and just through sheer force, you manage to leverage yourself up and onto the southern bank. So technically speaking, you are now going to be... I'm just going to put you over here for simplicity's sake.
Makes sense.
And
Wait
because-
for everyone else and try to get them
Yeah.
up in the same spot as me.
Yeah. I also just don't know. If I move everybody else over here, do you still see black, or can you see the map still?
We can
No,
see
we
the
can
map,
see.
but all the tokens on the map disappear.
Interesting. Probably
Yeah,
for
it's
the...
very
I mean,
weird.
yeah, that works for now, though. That's okay. You can't see the saber wolves yet. Only Roz can. Okay, Roz, you've officially landed. And even from that position, you can see that there's this nice little entrance dug out where there's also a pit filled with what looks like a lot of old remnants and bones of hunts and critters and creatures. But Roz, Viren was right. Something about that cave ain't right. And we'll find out what that is next week.
Dun, dun,
Figured I'd get you there and see where you ended up.
We saw the map.
We're on the map. Finally.
Well, I'm on the map.
Yeah.
I'm
The others,
special.
the others will get here eventually, right? No one
Until
will
next
totally
week.
miss and overshoot.
I'm
Yeah.
sure nobody will end up on that northern bank surrounded by like a dozen wolves.
Not at all.
As long as that person isn't Titan taking us all with him, we'll be fine.
Oh, hear me out. If you need a sudden emergency break, Titan could just frost breath the river.
Wow.
Oh.
I mean, you all would hit a wall of ice, but you would stop. You would stop.
Would enough of the river actually freeze that you're not just gonna run into basically a blade of ice?
Yeah, there's
What we
there's
could do,
there's a little
being
variance.
smart, I could dive down a bit, blow out some ice, then it would float up under you.
True,
Mm-hmm.
which could still help a little.
Seeing as that's what ice does.
Yep,
But
it floats.
Yeah, you could still.
Platformer mechanic.
Yeah. Quick jump. But yeah, so well, I mean, we'll see how this shakes out next week. We can finally get this encounter underway. I've only had it prepared for a couple of weeks. Which honestly was good news for me because it wasn't as fleshed out as it was, 3 weeks ago as it is now. So it's good.
Hmm.
We were busy doing people things or something.
Wait until you get to the den. It's gonna be great.
I'm sure there's nothing spooky going on in there.
Nothing at all. Anyway, well, we'll find out next week. So we're finished. The usual. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for playing. We are always happy to do this and happy to play, and I'm really looking forward to running this encounter and seeing what the party manages to discover, and whether or not if they can do the double header bonus mission of trying to keep as many saber wolves alive, along with uncovering what the problem is and dealing with all of the above to see if they can just get bonus points from all the various factions involved in this mission. Or if you're gonna piss off the Greenskeeper, who knows? We'll find out next week. So, if you can do nothing else, if everything else is stacked against you, the best thing you can do is try to make good choices. That feels like a perfectly sufficient way to end the stream. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for hanging out, chat.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
Bye.
and we're gonna go raid Dorktales because they're great. Night, everybody.
Bye.
Start it. Thank you.
It had to time out first.
It did. Good job.